Welcome to the June 14, 2017 meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. Before we start on the agenda, I'd like to ask everybody to please silence your devices that you have with you. And also, general comment, anybody is more than welcome to speak, and we just ask that you come up to the lectern and use the microphone, and if you need to move away from the lectern, please take the microphone with you because we're being televised. Thank you. All right, so the first order of business is to vote the minutes of June 7th.
I read on mine.
I had a couple things on page 7 at the top. It's the end of the conversation about the Cary Lane property, and Mr. Armstrong, a landscaper, is speaking, and he's talking about the fence around the swimming pool, and if I recall correctly, he made a point about it being a safety issue. For example, in case of a fire, people getting in, getting out, and firemen getting in. So people recall it's the same way. I think we should add that in.
Yep.
Let's see. Page 11, so there's a last name missing from somebody in the audience. I guess we'll need to consult the tapes for that.
I'll look at that.
And on the DPW project, wasn't there a bit of discussion or a mention anyway of a budget for monitoring as well as?
There was, it's in the slide.
Okay,
It's in-
all right,
yeah.
so it's in the record.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll second that.
Who first did it?
Jamie?
Okay, all those in favor of adopting the minutes as discussed, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Thank you. All right, other business, review and accept baseline data and land management report for Shallow Pond Woodland. Jessica, good evening.
Good evening, thanks. I'm Jessica Rittenauer with the 300 Committee Land Trust. This presentation for the Shallow Pond Woodlands baseline documentation report and land management plan is the final step of the land grant compliance process for the town of Falmouth. The transaction was completed, the land purchase and the conservation restriction purchase by the town was completed in March. And we've been working with the compact of Cape Cod Conservation Trust since then to complete the baseline documentation report and land management plan. It was approved by the 300 Committee Land Trust Board of Directors at their meeting last Tuesday. And this review is based on the fact that the Conservation Commission holds the conservation restriction on the property. So we need your approval of the document as well. And the land grant compliance package gets submitted to the state by the end of June, and then the town will receive the $400,000 reimbursement that was associated with the grant award for this project. It's an extensive document in terms of just detail about the property, so what I did was I just pulled out some of the important highlights, and I'll go over those with you now. And again, the transaction, the Community Preservation Fund had invested $250,000 in this project. The Massachusetts land grant is $400,000, and the 300 Committee provided a donation for the town's $800,000 purchase of the CR. All of this funding was needed for the 300 Committee to purchase the land, so this was an integral part of preserving the 69-acre Shallow Pond Woodlands. As far as context, the property is located near the town's Bryvogle Conservation Area, which is 67 acres. the Walden Fender property, which was purchased with land bank funding. And then there's additional town acreage, the leaf compost facility, and then this 27-acre property includes an Atlantic white cedar swamp. So in context of other Falmouth conservation lands and town-owned lands, it creates wonderful linkage, and we see it really as an opportunity for linking trail systems, and you'll see in a later slide how we propose to link in with existing trails. The baseline documents existing conditions as of April 2017. And that is important to have fully documented because a conservation restriction requires annual monitoring, and the baseline, provides the data so that we can see, what kind of changes are evident in the property itself. Also important for documenting encroachments. There are encroachments on site that do need to be dealt with, and the 300 committee, as the landowner, is responsible for working to resolve those with neighboring property owners. We also have outline of public access plan and property management goals. This is just an illustration of all the various locations in the property that were documented through the photography, and all of the detail is in the report itself. This here, I'll go over the key on this a little bit. There are existing trails already into the Shallow Pond Woodlands property. Just informally over time, the land was privately owned by D'Addario Enterprises, but trails had been established, just neighborhood trails entering the back of the property and connecting in with Breybogle over here. We have no problem as the landowner with those trails continuing to be used. It's great access for the neighborhood to have access to this conservation land. We do wish to expand the trail system so that folks can get further into the property. We hope to have a trail system that goes all the way up here to Thomas Landers Road, where there will be a parking area. And an overlook, it's difficult to see on this map, but this right here is on the edge of Shallow Pond, and that's a pond overlook area that we hope to be able to build at some point. That is written into the conservation restriction as a reserved right. And that's something that the state was very interested in, because Shallow Pond is a great pond. Providing public access to the great pond and an overlook site was something that the state was really interested in seeing on this property. There are some trails that do need to be closed off, and we will work to do that. This trail goes into the neighboring property, which is a privately owned sand pit. That wouldn't necessarily be an appropriate trail for continued use, and there are some dirt bike trails that we're working to close down. Public access to the property is currently available from the Breybogle parking area over here, and this just illustrates the trail connections in. The parking area on Thomas Landers Road will be created in the future by the 300 committee. So there'll be 2 access areas. This is just a couple of ideas for parking location on Thomas Landers Road. We do intend to hire an engineer to work with us on laying out and designing the best location on that road frontage for the parking area. It would be small, simply to accommodate 4 or 5 cars from that end of the property. I thought the Conservation Commission would be interested in knowing that Mark Robinson, the consultant who prepared this report, was able to document some vernal pool, so the salamander eggs, and this vernal pool has not yet been certified, but that's something that it was a vernal pool that we thought was there, but we've been able to document that now. As I close, I just want to say, with any of the land acquisitions that the 300 committee has been able to complete, there's no way that the project would have been possible without the support of the town. So this particular project involves support from the Board of Selectmen, town management, town council, the Conservation Commission, the Community Preservation Committee, Compact of Cape Cod Conservation Trusts, the Commonwealth of Mass, Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, and the members and donors of the 300 Committee Land Trust. So this is just an illustration of all the parties that are involved. And we're pleased to have reached this point where we own the land. The conservation restriction is on record. And this document is our guiding document for how the property will be managed. It's privately owned by the 300 Committee, but with all of our properties open to the public, and we encourage Falmouth community members to use these properties and to really enjoy them. So I'm happy to entertain any questions if there are any.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? Courtney?
No questions. Great project.
Ori?
All set?
Yeah, this is an exciting project. Is it that this will make the largest or second largest contiguous area, open space area on the Cape? Did I read that in here?
Right, so one of the elements of the Shallow Pond Woodlands acquisition is, as of the time that it was acquired, it was the largest undeveloped, undisturbed acreage in Falmouth. And Mark Robinson of the Compact said, according to his sources, he thinks it's the largest undisturbed site on the whole Cape that hadn't already been preserved.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the just an important addition to conservation.
Yeah, it's terrific.
Nice work.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you much.
Thank you, Jess.
Next, we have discussed land grant application for Tony Andrews Farm.
Yes, Madam Chairman, as the Commission knows, the town meeting voted to acquire the Andrews Farm parcel. The town is looking to purchase 33.5 acres of the farm parcel, with the 300 Committee purchasing, I believe it's 6 parcels along Ronnie Road. Yep, Ronnie Road that abuts Pond 14. The Board of Selectmen affirmed or voted recently to assign the care and control of the farm parcel to the Conservation Commission. And one of those reasons is because the Conservation Commission is needed as a party for the land grant to help purchase the project. So, Peter, Julian, did you want to say anything?
I'm happy to make a few comments.
Okay, great.
Terrific. Can you come up to the lectern, please?
So as you can see, Article 1 up there was the blue is the farm parcels, correct, Julian?
Correct.
Yes.
We call them parcel A and B, but they're two contiguous parcels.
Okay.
As you can see by the one 18.78 acres, the other 17.93. And pardon me, Madam Chair, I'm Julian Suso, Falmouth Town Manager, and thank you for the opportunity to join you, however briefly, and in support of our hardworking Conservation Administrator. I do appreciate Jen McKay's great efforts as it relates to this parcel and many other projects as well. As Jen has noted, the selectmen at their last meeting on June 5th voted to request of the Conservation Commission that you assume care and control of the Andrews Farm parcel, which are basically the farm acreage, or the two parcels outlined in blue. As I noted, we call them parcel A and B, but they're varying size but connected, and that is just essentially a drive access way cutting through roughly the center of those two parcels. Efforts are underway to secure a purchase and sale agreement. We're working in close partnership, as I think you're aware, with the 300 Committee, and we appreciate their incredible work in this area, Jessica's and all of the leadership of the 300 Committee. It's a sterling example of excellent collaborative work, and we did present this to town meeting, as I know many of you were part of that process, and we've gotten the green light so far, and we'll be going back to town meeting in November, hopefully to put the icing on the cake and seek final approval. But we're coming up with a deadline for this grant application, at which we're hoping, through our partnership with the 300 Committee, to secure a significant grant, which is a key piece to allowing this entire process to move forward. and I'll be happy to answer any questions or welcome
Can I
Jen's
add
comments.
just one thing, Julian? So the town would hold the farm parcels with the 300 committee, correct, Jessica, having the CR on the farm parcels? And the green parcels up there are the parcels I was speaking about along Pond 14. And I believe the goal is to have the Conservation Commission hold the CR for the 300 committee. So it'll be a partnership of
Correct.
all the parcels.
And the plan is for the farm parcels, for the CR to restrict them for farm, I mean, to.
Allow
include-
farming,
Allow
yes.
farming.
Yes, to continue the agricultural use of the property.
Okay, good. Does anyone else have any comments? Thank you, Julian.
Just a
Oh.
point of clarification. The lots in green, how does that figure in? Are they part of this?
Jessica's best to answer that on behalf of the 300 committee, which will take title to those parcels.
Yeah.
Yes, Courtney, the 6 lots in green are what we call the Ronnie Road parcels. The road that they're on is the family titled Ronnie Road. Those lots are directly on Pond 14. They're part of the Coonamessett
Right.
corridor, and we intend to have them as part of the Coonamessett Greenway. They'll be
Okay.
owned and managed by the 300 committee.
So what we're looking at is the 2 parcels in green, in blue, plus the green.
Well, you
I
would
mean,
hold
how the
this,
mechanics of that all, and ownership and
Right. So
all of that is still, that's a different story. It's just that in the general concept, we're talking about the whole unit.
all of the acreage shown will be preserved, so it's a total of 46 acres, with the town owning the farm and with the 300 committee owning the Ronnie Road land.
Okay. Thank you. Since I will say this, that there's a lot of vision here, and I commend the 300 committee and the town for having the foresight to step forward and take on this project. It's a great thing, and because it would have been a shame to see that part of our heritage disappear.
Anything else from the public?
Madam Chair, could I make one other comment?
Certainly.
Thank you
can.
for your comment, Mr. Byrd. I just want to acknowledge there are a large number of people working to try and bring this to successful closure. I want to emphasize that. It connects with Jessica's comments earlier. Many people are doing heavy lifting, trying to bring this together, and as you've very eloquently noted, Mr. Byrd, it's a very exciting concept. It's one that we're very gratified to have the opportunity to work on, and we're going to make every reasonable effort to come to the finish line successfully over the next several months, and particularly in the next month when we have some key deadlines coming. But also, if I may, Madam Chair, I want to thank the Conservation Commission for your fine work, all that you do, your willingness to step up and get involved in all these projects that are treasures to our community. And on behalf of all of us that have the pleasure of working with you, I want to take the opportunity to thank you for that as well.
Thank you as well for your support. Come back anytime.
Thank you.
yes, thank you, Peter.
Thank you very much. Are we going to take the vote or at here now, or is that?
You don't have to. We spoke to Pat. You don't have to. If you'd like to vote, you can.
No, I'm sorry. I meant
Oh,
next time.
the order of conditions, yes, we
Okay.
do need to take that.
All right,
out of
so
order.
we will be taking one agenda
Thank
item
you,
out
Julian.
of order now,
Yes.
which is to vote an order of conditions on 4 Nichols Road. We need to do this because we have just 4 people on the quorum, and one of them needs to leave early. So, no, it doesn't. We don't want to have all these other things.
Yes, Madam
A
Chair.
quorum.
So the quorum on this project is Steve, yourself, Kristen, and Courtney.
Yes.
Which one is the 4 Nichols?
4 Nichols Road, Mudari, I think.
Yes.
Right, and this is the complicated dock.
Yes. This
Matter.
is the dock project that originally came in to take a seasonal structure and The first proposal was to turn it into a solid structure, solid permanent structure. That was revised, and the project now before you is to retain the seasonal structure itself, but add, I believe it's an 8-foot-long walkway from the seasonal structure to the top of the retaining wall that you approved in the fall of 2016 to make it more accessible so that the applicant doesn't have to walk down the stairs onto the beach and then up onto the dock. And that is the project that's before you now, is that 8-foot span from the seasonal structure itself to the wall.
Thank you. Thank you, John. I'm sorry, what?
It doesn't have
Kristen?
anything to do with the dock itself. It's confusing to me.
It is a confusing situation. So the dock is not changing, is that what the gist of it?
On the seasonal
The
part of
seasonal
it,
dock remains the same, and we're just
the seasonal
providing
dock,
the,
according to the applicant's representative, is remaining the same size, correct?
okay.
The only difference is as it's coming landward, where it would have gone like that onto the beach, it's kind of moving up
Right.
and
It's-
onto the wall.
It's going to be higher.
Yeah, so they're
I believe
adding-
5 feet, is that right? So there
Yep.
Yeah.
can be passage beneath it.
And there do look like there are 10-inch diameter. Nope, that's the old plan. Hang on, let me find the new one. Oh, that's too below. Hang on. There we go. All right, how about? Okay, hang on, I'm trying to find my plan here, Madam Chairman.
This was it. It's not, this is the original. It's not really there. Let's give him this
The
one.
file, hang on.
Right.
Let me understand. They're
Yep.
just replacing from here to here, or are they raising the whole structure? Now, I'm
So
confused.
this is the old structure right there.
Yep,
They're proposing to take it, raise it up to 5 feet and attach it to the top of the seawall.
and
So
these are all
these
removable.
pipes will be obviously taller. It'll allow for a 5-foot, provide a 5-foot clearance. So this
Okay.
kind of is that, but it is raising it in height.
Okay, so we're dealing with two different things. Did we talk about these being removable, these posts?
Those will, they are going to be removed.
Right.
So we're allowing them to put a sleeve in, is that what the plan is? They put a sleeve in and they can drop
The
the phone?
original order of conditions on the project did require, or did, the original narrative did call for sleeves. So that I would put in as a matter of, in an order of conditions, just to limit the impact to the resource area, removing and installing and removing it year after year. I would condition it, if I were the board, to, oh, thank you, Steve. I would condition it to have the sleeves.
Okay, and I would agree with that, yeah.
Yeah. Also, I think that raising it is a benefit, and there'll be more light penetration in the new structure, correct?
Yep.
Just by way of raising it, correct.
It will also block access for people along the beach. The original one had a 15-foot area of access for people to walk along the beach.
What was that, Chris?
The original ramp that was there years back had an access for people to cross the beach, and this will block that.
It's not, but the requirements are that you have a minimum a 5 feet
Yeah.
clearance under the
Yeah.
deck.
I understand that.
To
but this
allow
is
for people
changing-
to get through.
It's changing the original structure that,
Yeah,
is in a,
it's, in my mind, that's a trade-off. You're trading off, there's gonna be far more traversing on that thing across that stretch and up onto the dock versus coming straight across. So I'm not sure I see it as a big deal.
I guess my concern is the existing ramp and floats that were written here as existing are not really there and haven't been there for a while. And so what we're looking at is a new dock that's extended back along the beach. And the original order of conditions had recommended that there was a buffer strip of 6 feet of,
And that would, if the board were to approve this, another requirement, Kristen would, I would recommend putting in that 10, what was it, a 10-foot buffer?
six-foot
Six-foot buffer
of
strip.
plants that's no longer there.
Am I remembering this correctly, that this is
This is the one where the neighbors were
indicated that
concerned.
they said it had moved or was?
Right.
Yes,
And
correct.
there's something that was submitted for the record by one of the neighbors to the effect that the previous order of conditions actually references a different lot, and a different structure,
Right.
which is my concern with this. I don't have any particular problem with the dock, as, the design of the dock, but I'm a little uncomfortable about the state of the record on this, and the history. It's a
Right.
little unclear.
Apparently, the dock was never in the position that it was originally licensed to be.
Right.
They had it licensed exactly where we see it now, but they had constructed it farther to the north, which is detrimental because the abutting property is Town Landing for Wacoit Bay. So the farther south of that
Courtney.
moves it farther away from the dock and the clammers that tend to tie their boats up on this property, actually.
There's also a question about the fact that there has been no dock there, period, for several years, and so does that represent an abandonment? So there's a bunch of questions now. that
Yeah,
We're looking
I
at.
think it was suggested that that was a Chapter 91 issue, not a Conservation Commission issue.
Yeah. I would agree with that, and it's a seasonal dock, it's a little hard to say with certainty what's abandoned and what's not.
But as a user of that Town Landing, I can assure you that that hasn't been there for at least the last 5 years.
Yeah, Mike,
Although I think...
I guess I'm having a little bit of a heart attack here, trying to figure out, if we're going to approve something that in effect has been abandoned, is that something we should be doing? I'm just troubled by that.
Yeah, I'm troubled also. I have thought about a denial without prejudice to provide an opportunity to get the record straight, more
Yeah.
documentation, but I'm not sure that's possible.
Well, I'd be very comfortable with that, because, even though there'd be a denial, doesn't mean they can't come back and, address the issues in the denial.
That's true, that's true. They would have to refile,
Well,
and it would cost them more money, but
That's
it's
part
true,
of
they do
the,
have the opportunity to do that.
in the end, I realize they might have to refile, and that's more time and money, but I think it's more important that we get everything right.
Steve, did you have?
My recollection of our discussion at the meeting was that this was a licensed dock, and it was being reinstalled in the exact location that it was permitted, that the connection to the now existing retaining wall was, in many people, the neighbors in particular, also, that it allowed them the access. and that 5 foot, even for someone my size, is not an unreasonable barrier to access to the beach. I'm sure you've all visited the beach. It's not a beach. It's a piece of sand in front of a property. And it doesn't really connect to anything as you continue south. So I was of the inclination that I would move that we accept this.
Well, to me, it's a different structure than the existing, and, you know, if you're taking what wasn't there and putting what was supposed to have been there and then rebuilding it, this is not the same. And it's a velocity zone, and it seems to me it should be the same structure as what was there prior. That's what our regulations say, the same structure, the same footprint.
Do we, okay. I would say the best thing at this point is I can make a positive motion to approve the project as presented. And if we choose as the quorum to vote against that proposition, then the project is denied.
Well, the board always puts a positive motion on.
That's what I mean.
No.
So I'll make a motion to approve the project as presented.
And I'd second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm not sure what we're going to do about it.
Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. All those opposed? Okay, the motion doesn't carry.
So we will.
I understand your consternation on this, but the way it was presented legally, I thought he had done the requisite work to have us reach an agreement on. But we're undecided. That means no, right?
Yes.
Ties lose.
Do we need to
So
have a
basically-
motion about denial without prejudice?
No, the motion didn't carry. You don't need to take a different motion, so I will draft that. I will draft that for the board to sign. We can come in next week and sign that, and we will draft that without prejudice, so the applicant can reapply to the board. Okay.
You have to make a motion to that effect?
No, that's how you always, all of your decisions are, decisions that do not carry and then are ultimately denied are without prejudice, allowing the applicants the opportunity to modify their applications and come back before you and clear up any little discrepancies or concerns that the board had.
Fair enough.
Okay? Absolutely every one of them is like that. Okay.
Thank you.
Go back to the regular agenda.
So why
Back
we
to
take
the
it out of
regular
order is the question.
agenda, yes.
Why did we take it out of order?
Because Christine needs to
Oh,
leave.
exactly, right.
Thank you very much.
Very good. very good.
Thank you very much, Christine.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to request for continuance under determination of applicability. Ken and Lorraine Montori, Lot 7H Pine Bank Road, North Falmouth, Massachusetts, for permission to construct a new 3-bedroom, single-family house with attached garage, deck, porches with chairs, install walkways, landscape walls, Title V sewage disposal system, utilities, dry wells, gravel driveway, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
Yes, Madam Chairman. The applicant is requesting a continuance until June 28th. This has been continual a couple of times. It's because this is the property where the board invoked the consultant's fee.
Yep.
This consultant has been out there. They were out there late last week. They are in the process of compiling their report to the commission, and he offers his apologies. He just got his dates mixed up and didn't realize the hearing was tonight. So he will be getting that report to me late this week or early next week, so the board will have time to review and we'll be able to evaluate the project on the 28th. But the field work has been done. Okay?
All right.
I'll move to continue this until the 28th of June.
All those in favor of continuing to say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous, so moved.
All right.
Okay, request for determination of applicability. I'll just mention that for this kind of an application, if the staff recommends and we vote a negative determination, that is good news for the applicant. It means that you are not required to go to the next stage of review. You can do your project. Seashell Lane Community Association, Inc., Davisville Road, map 40-11-013-000, East Falmouth, Massachusetts, for permission to construct a 6-foot by 8-foot wood storage shed and to install native shrub plantings. Jen?
Which one's this, Seashell Lane? Yes, we are recommending a -2 with the resource area boundaries not confirmed. And that's under the state and the bylaw.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous, so moved. Carrie Belcher, 19 Vineyard Street, East Falmouth, Massachusetts, for permission to remove 2 Norway maple trees, install 2 native trees, and prune an oak.
Yes, Madam Chairman, we're recommending a -2 in the state and the bylaw. Resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous, so moved. Okay, the continued request for Lot 7H Pine Bank Road, we have already voted to continue that to June 28th. Now we come to requests for hearings under a notice of intent. First, we have Augustine and Denise Santola, 123 Shorewood Drive, East Falmouth, Massachusetts, for permission to raise RAZE, the existing dwelling, and construct a single-family house with porch, deck with stairs, install native tree and shrub plantings, utilities, dry wells, driveway, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Good evening.
Good evening.
Do we have a butters?
Madam Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Michael Borselli from Falmouth Engineering. Mr. Santola has applied for permission to raise and reconstruct the existing dwelling at 123 Shorewood Drive. This is in effect a redo of a project that was already reviewed and approved and issued an order in 2012. Mr. Santola made a decision not to proceed with the project at that time, and he lost track of the 3-year period and never asked for an extension. So now in late 2016, he contacted me to inform me that he wanted to reapply. So we have filed effectively the same project as we did back in 2012. And that project is on this exhibit, and you have copies in your file. Property has frontage on Great Pond, the waters of Great Pond. There's an existing dock with good standing licenses, received all necessary permits. There's a salt marsh shown. There is the associated 100-foot no-disturbance zone A is also on the plan. In addition, there's a very low-profile coastal bank, and there's the associated 50-foot no-disturbance zone A and outer buffer zone B from that resource area. It's also located within land subject to coastal storm flowage, which is different now than it was in 2012 because of Neptune. So we reacted to that, and the house is designed to meet the standards at FWR 10.38. The first floor will be at elevation 19. The flood zone in question is AE 12. The house is designed as a walkout. The existing house is a walkout. By that I mean the basement level is at grade on this side, so you walk out to grade on that side. There's 2 existing sheds. The original application, when it was under review, when we worked with staff, it was discovered that on a previous application, there was a requirement for some mitigation planting that was never installed, and that was pointed out, and it's shown on this plan as to be installed. In addition, there's a minor increase in impervious surfaces, so we're mitigating for that increase in impervious surfaces on the plan. There's a requirement for 220 square feet of additional mitigation. We're proposing dry wells for roof runoff, and that pretty much sums it up. Again, it was issued in order in 2012 and it expired, so we're basically asking for the same project.
Thank you, Mike. Jennifer?
Just 2 things, Mike, and I just noticed it. The sheds, were they included in the impervious surface in the 2012 order?
Yes.
Okay. And second, AC units on there? You don't have them? Just know that obviously there's most likely going to be AC units on the house, and they'll have to be counted for from a mitigation standpoint when compliance comes. Because it doesn't look like you have it.
I didn't know about AC. If you want me to continue the hearing and find
No,
out.
I don't think it's necessary. AC units are fairly small. I don't think it's necessary. Just be aware of that, and if you even want to just put in a revised plan to me afterwards, just showing your general AC, and just put them on there so
Sure.
when your client builds, even if they're on the north or south side, I don't care, as long as they're shown there and they're accounted for in the mitigation plantings. And I'm sorry, I missed that when we were talking about it. That way it'll just save that much more.
Sure.
It'll save us a step at compliance time, actually.
Understood.
And the only thing, just to clarify for the board, there is no deck on this house, correct, Mike?
Right.
It's the one with no deck. So I did ask about that. The structure will not be able to put a deck on the house in the future. Mike has made his client aware of that because this is your primary structure, and your regulations do not allow for encroachment towards a resource area like a salt marsh beyond that present primary structure. And I did have this conversation with Mike regarding that. His client is aware of it, and this is the house he wants. So,
Madam Chair, if I could add to that, Jen's right, but just to add to that, we also know he cannot have a patio.
Yep.
He cannot have any additional impervious surfaces moving
Closer.
seaward of the
Yep.
closest point of the primary structure. He's very much aware of it. He may incorporate within the footprint a second-story deck. He's still developing the architectural plan, but this is similar to another case. You granted permission to build a house on Squibbernocket Road. If you remember Mr. Spalaris, you approved a footprint. Sorry to bring that up, but
Don't bring that one
you
up.
approved a footprint, and you basically said if he wants a deck, as long as it's within the footprint, he'd have less living space, he can have his deck. So my client's very much aware of that.
that's it, Madam Chairman. I
All
already
right.
met with Mike on this, and
Thank you. Mark?
No comments.
Steve?
No comment.
The existing septic passes Title 1.
Yes, and that's in the front yard. between the house and the street.
Yeah, that's how it else.
Yep.
No bedroom.
No
No,
bedroom,
huge.
same, 3-bedroom.
Thank you.
Maureen?
I just had one question, actually two, Mike. I have two different plans here. One we received June 2nd and the other one May 24th. Are they the same plan?
No, the first plan had a deck. I think that's going to be the
Okay.
only difference you see.
Okay,
The first plan had a deck in Wes house.
Yeah.
He's working with
that's
his
the only thing I saw.
Yeah.
But when you
Oh,
do
Mike, you don't
that,
have a-
Decks.
when you do that, put revision on it, just revise. I don't see it. Maybe I'm losing it.
No, you don't see it,
There
Mark.
is no revise.
Yeah.
You need to have a revision date on there, Mark.
Because I searched, and the only thing I didn't see was the deck, and I'm thinking, okay, well, it's the same footprint, but if that's all, I counted trees, so spent a lot of time, and if it just said revision deck, would have saved me a lot of time. Also, there's no outdoor shower, generator, or anything else, so again, with Jen, if it's gonna happen, just make sure it's on there. And the sheds are legal?
Sheds are,
Leave it.
yes, they're.
Okay, perfect, that's all, thank you.
Courtney?
No questions.
Mike, one additional question, sorry, Madam Chairman. The propane tanks are going, right? The propane tanks on the plan? Propane tanks we have on there, they're gone, right? It's going to be gas, I'm assuming?
I assume,
Yeah, okay.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
If something occurred like that, for instance, an outside shower or something I didn't anticipate, like a propane tank, I clearly know I would need to come
Yeah.
back for an amendment.
Okay.
Mike, is there a limit of work? I didn't see anything.
Well, there's no physical limit of work on the plan. It's a very flat lot. It's grass. We could run a row of silt fence around if you like, but I didn't know that there was really a need to because of the location of the house. But if you want to make that a condition, we can absolutely. put
You're
in
comfortable with that, Jen?
I would run a limit of work across the no disturbance zone A of that coastal bank. That would allow you to take those sheds out. See where that is on the plan, Mike?
Mhm.
And just run that. So limit of work along the Zone A line of the coastal bank. And I believe that'll give you enough room. I think that's your coastal bank line, right, Mike?
Right here.
Yeah, right
Right.
south or west of those sheds. Yeah, so that'll give you enough room to get those sheds out of there. Okay. I'll put that in a special condition.
Thank you.
And Mike, it'll save you if you add those AC units and mitigation in that limit of work line by Friday. That would be nice.
I can
So we're
make-
expecting a new
Thanks, Mike.
plan.
Yeah, good. And a revision date.
Courtney,
With the
did you have-
revisions on it.
Yeah. Courtney?
Procedural question, I can move to close it, or we can open it for comments first.
We usually have a motion and then we open it.
Okay, I mean, we occasionally come up with situations where then there's new information and we now faced with,
That's true.
so that's why I'm wondering whether we should perhaps reconsider our process a little bit.
That's a good point. Is there anyone in the public who would like to speak about this project? All right.
I'll move to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. So moved. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, next. William Baludis, 21 Bay Shore Drive, North Falmouth, Massachusetts, for permission to raise RAZE, the existing dwelling, and construct a single-family 3-bedroom house with attached garage, deck, install native tree and shrub plantings, a new Title V sewage disposal system, utilities, dry wells, driveway, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
Madam Chairman, again, Michael Borselli, Falmouth Engineering. I represent the applicant. The applicant is proposing to perform a raise and reconstruction of the existing single-family dwelling on this property. The property is located on Bay Shore Drive. It has frontage on Bay Shore Drive. The west side of the property includes a salt marsh system, EW, that was flagged by Vaccaro, and data sheets were submitted. Moving landward from there is a coastal bank that is non-eroding and stable. It is somewhat steep. It's very obvious where the top is, and it's been shown on the plan and staked in the field. There is land subject to coastal storm flowage on the lot, but it's at the base of the bank. It does rise up to this location, but the house is not in a special flood zone. And the ground elevations around the house are just under elevation 40. In addition, there is a piece of priority habitat on the lot, not in the area of the proposed work, but on the lot. And the only reason I bring that up is because in your regulations at FWR 10.18, the buffer widths, if a resource is in an area that could have wildlife species of special concern, your zone A from all resources becomes 100 feet. So the zone A from the BVW is 100, and the zone A from the top of the bank is 100. So that's the way we depicted them on the plan. So this is a classic redevelopment, tear down, rebuild. We provided the mitigation calculations for impervious surfaces and demonstrated, ironically, that there's a slight decrease in impervious surfaces. So mitigation in the form of enhanced buffer or shrubs is not necessary. We were able to slightly move the house back slightly from the top of the bank, and the architect actually designed the foundation such that excavation is moving. Instead of excavation, is just deck at the closest point to the top of the bank. And only, since this is also a walkout, only frost wall depth for footings on the walkout level. There are some trees just on the edge of the proposed house that we are hopeful we can remove. There's 2 oaks, and for the removal of the 2 oaks, we were proposing 4 cedars. And I went to the site just before tonight to check out the stakes and things, and I discovered I missed a tree. I missed an existing tree, and I'm sure one or more of you might have noticed that, so I'm trying to come clean on that. There's a pine tree right where we want to put the proposed septic system, right where I'm pointing. It's probably 12, maybe 15-inch diameter pine tree. And we need to remove it to put the new septic system in. I've been told by the owner that the existing septic system is a cesspool, and when I asked him where it was, he just pointed at the slope in the woods, and no one knows where it is. So I think removing the tree, although I don't know if there's a lot of wildlife value for that tree, but some of you may disagree. I think it's offset. I know we need a new system because we're building a house, but on balance, I think it's justified to put the new septic system in. And I'm happy to provide additional mitigation in the form of some more, maybe a couple more solutions. And if I need to continue it to do that, I'm happy to do that, but there may be other issues I'm unaware of. So we're proposing dry wells. There is a limit of work on here. I also noticed when I went to the site to check the staking, the limit of work was staked but I don't know what happened with the survey crew, but one of the limit of work stakes was not labeled limit of work, it was labeled proposed building.
Right.
It's not, building isn't proposed there. So I pulled that stake out. Things happen. There's a lot of stakes out there, and they must have just drove the wrong stake. What they do is they label up a bunch, and then they lay them out, and they must have just, so. We do require a variance for the septic system from the Board of Health. We have applied for that. I expect the hearing is probably next Monday night, I'm hopeful. I think that sums it up. I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Jen?
No question.
Courtney?
No questions.
Maury?
Just 3. The block structure?
Yes. The block structure?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're referring to.
It's down on the coastal bank. It's when you go down the path.
Oh, yeah, right.
What is that? Like,
I don't remember. I believe he told me what it was, but I can't recall what he told me. It was several months ago. It may be an old well.
that's what I was wondering, if it was some kind of pump house or, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's not you. He has town water, so I don't know. I can
Okay.
find out.
I'm just curious, I thought it was maybe a well or,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. The pine tree, we already did that.
Did you notice that?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm glad I came clean.
Yes, you were going to get called on it. The cesspool, it will need to be located and pumped and filled.
You
And
think
it's-
so? I was wondering if we should just abandon it because of its location.
Well, you don't have to, you just have to pump it.
Just pump it.
I mean, otherwise it just sits in there and all of that goes, I mean, there's already phragmites and,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, if they can, I mean,
Yeah, sure.
I mean, the only problem is if it's an old steel cover and it rusts and
Could
goes
become a
away, then
hazard.
people can fall in it or whatever.
Sure.
So, just be nice to know, maybe.
Mhm.
And again, no AC units or showers or anything shown on this, so are they not going to have any?
The plans hadn't been developed to that point. I apologize for that. I don't
Just put
believe
little
it-
bumps like there, just like that.
Yeah, I
Well, you
should-
know they're going to have it.
Yeah, I'm happy to, again, I'm happy to continue it to find out.
No, I mean, they might not be having them, so I mean,
Right.
that's fine. Just, it's something to think about in the future so that,
Mhm.
the client. The other question I have, Mike, the cedar trees that you're proposing, which is nice for the removal of the 20 inches of oaks that aren't unhealthy, but it's already, you're putting 2 cedars where there are already a bunch of oaks.
They're kind of crowded in there.
They're really crowded, and I was just talking to Mary about that, it's sometimes like foresting a forest, and it's so close to the existing vegetation, a lot of times they just get taken over time. I don't know, it's maybe not this project, but where you have the 2 cedars up
Yeah.
on the, up by the road,
Yeah, I was thinking of moving these over there too.
putting them all over there, and, because they can be close to the dry well, and that way get them away from the other oaks.
Sure.
But that'd be a field thing, maybe you could just, when you get ready to place them, ask Jen. Because again, they're really in the canopy, those 2 cedars.
Yeah, I noticed that when I walked it tonight
Yeah.
too. I'm happy to revise.
I know,
the
you just
plan.
try and put them somewhere, but,
Right.
I mean, it's a nice lot. Okay, thank you.
Jamie?
No questions.
Steve?
It was another surprise lot. I was glad to hear you describe the construction. I was going to try to figure out. I was concerned about that steep pitch in the front of the house and how you could do something on that lot without disturbing that. But it sounds like you've obviously thought of that ahead of time as well. And the pipes that are apparently running into that bank, I assumed that they were.
I noticed 2 or 3 pipes, and I think they're for roof runoff.
Roof runoff.
Right,
So the roof runoff now will go into dry wells.
right, that would be a significant improvement, I would think.
Why they don't need to pump the filter.
All right, those were my points. I was really concerned, I was surprised when I saw the lot, how beautiful the view is from that.
Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you.
Mark?
Yeah, well, commenting on that beautiful view, the reason it's beautiful is there's been a tremendous amount of brush removal on the hill. There are trees cut down, there are many smaller shrubs lopped off. And I don't know if we should, well, I could understand wanting a view, maybe we should have a vista permit and a vista corridor outlined, because apparently the hill does tend to grow pretty aggressively, it looks like, with all the chopping that's been done. And we certainly don't want to encourage continued chopping down there, at least willy-nilly.
Did you notice any recent, was anything fresh? Because I didn't notice fresh.
Well, some of them look like within a couple of years anyway. You know, you could tell by the new growth's coming up, and it's been a lot. I mean,
I'm sure over the years they did that.
I suspect they did, and you can imagine why, but maybe we ought to codify it so that we know where they're gonna do it and where they should leave it be.
Mark, we can make a finding about the significant cutting on the bank and write a special condition that no further cutting be on the bank until a vista permit is issued. I usually like to have the houses constructed before we outline a vista corridor, because you never know when somebody's standing somewhere where they're going to want that view. So I'd be happy to add a special condition that a vista corridor, they amend the permit to add a vista corridor and cease all cutting on that bank.
Good.
Quite noticeable.
That's a good comment.
Okay, good, thank you. Is there anything else to report? Anyone in the public who would like to speak about this project? Okay.
Move to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, so moved.
Boy, 2 for 2, Mike.
Yeah.
No, 2 for 3.
All right. 90 Loop Road Nominee Trust, 90 Loop Road, Falmouth, Massachusetts, for permission to raise RAZE, the existing dwelling, and construct a single-family 3-bedroom house on an open pile foundation with a deck porch, install a Title V pollution nitrifying sewage disposal system, native tree and shrub plantings, landings, utilities, gravel driveway, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Good evening, Alan. Who's this?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reynolds. Give one to Susan. Susan likes the color pictures.
Good evening. For the record, Raul Lizardi from Homes and McGrath, representing the applicant. The project at 90 Loop Road, the applicant is 90 Loop Road Nominee Trust, and the project, as it was mentioned, is raising the existing structure that was built in 1972 and replacing it with a new single-family dwelling, conforming to the FEMA velocity zones. The resources on or within 100 feet of the property are the flood zones A and B, coastal bank, BVW, and a salt marsh. The existing house is currently located in the velocity zone and subsequently also in the Falmouth wetland regulation velocity zone, 25 feet. The finished floor is well below what is required of today's regulations, so the proposed work is to raise the existing dwelling, construct a new dwelling to conform to those FEMA velocity zone requirements. So the finished floor is proposed to be set at 2.5 feet higher than the elevation of the velocity zone. The elevation of the velocity zone is 17, so the finished floor is set to propose elevation of 20.5. In reality, the footprint of the proposed house doesn't increase in terms of square footage from the existing one. However, because we're going 10 feet up in the air, we have the primary staircase to go up to the new finished floor, and then a secondary access off of the deck, which is shown as a spiral shape on the plans. With those 2 stairs and the other changes to the polygon that defines the proposed house, there's going to be an increase of 110 square feet in developed areas. All of this work is taking place in the Falmouth Wetland Buffer Zone A. So we're proposing as improvements, one, which is the mitigation plantings of 330 square feet, the proposed raising of the house to conform to the FEMA velocity zone regulations, the proposed upgrade of the existing substandard septic system to a denitrifying septic system. This septic system is also going to go before, or has already gone once before the Board of Health. It was continued for the approval of some variances and local upgrade approvals. And we're proposing to intercept roof runoff and direct them into dry wells. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you. Jen?
Breakaway panels, Farrell.
If they choose to enclose the lower level, then it will be,
Oh, you don't know if they're planning on using breakaway panels? Because you know how I feel about breakaway panels.
as of
Everybody
this
knows how
moment,
I
all
feel
I know
about
is going to be open.
Okay, thank you.
That's it?
We might special condition it depending on how the board feels to not allow them. Is there an elevator? Are they proposing an elevator at all? Do you know?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, all right. Have they even started their architecturals on this? Do you know?
No.
No, okay. That might be something that they come back to.
There will
amend.
be architectural plans because this is a project that has to go before the Board of Appeals
Yeah,
because it doesn't meet some of the setback requirements. And for that application, we have to have all that in hand.
okay, could you make a note to submit those architecturals when they're completed for our record as well? Just give us a copy. Because my concern is going to be, one, when the board deliberates the use of the breakaway panels, and two, if they do have to enclose a portion underneath that, you know, we want to allow for that if they have an elevator unit in there. Okay?
Thanks, Jen. Courtney?
No problem.
First of all, I would agree with Jen. We need to see elevations, architectural drawings in order to make a decision on this. And I'm surprised, quite honestly, that you didn't submit something, because I saw an application with the Board of Health that showed 4 pages of colored elevations of the house. And it would have been helpful if you'd submitted that to us so we could have visualized what you're planning to do. That's just a kind of a criticism of trying to put in a complete application. So that's comment number 1. And part of the reason I think this is important for us is that this is a very, very tight site. Okay? I drove down the driveway, and in the process of trying to back out, I hit about 3 trees nearly. That was more of my age and cataracts than it was anything else, but that's a problem. And if we approve this project, and I understand you're tearing down a house with a concrete basement, and you're going to put a house up on stilts, which I think, quite honestly, the view I saw of it shows that that's an improvement. You're dealing with some real challenges there. But it would help us to make a decision as to what we're doing, because there are issues with the 25-foot setback from the wetlands, and we need to be able to have all the information to make judgment. I think we're going to. I think, assuming we approve this, we're going to have to. The site management is going to be a key thing. And I would like to have seen, a methodology at this point. The other thing is, has the owner selected a contractor? Because the reason I say that is because when you have projects like this that are in very, very, very difficult zones, project management and having the team players all on the same page right from the get-go in the permitting process as well as the actual construction is really important. And we can stand here in a conservation commission and jump up and down and talk about how we're gonna wanna condition it. And somehow if we don't have the contractor on the job knowing this and being aware of our concerns, and it gets to be secondhand, that's where problems occur. So these are the things that I'm concerned about. And I'm sorry you didn't at least give us the elevations that you gave to Board of Health.
To answer some of the questions, as far as I know, the elevation that were submitted for Board of Health haven't been final. And on the construction methodology, without a contractor in hand, I don't want to speculate what methodology they're going to use. But however, we're open to that. The condition that is usually written into the order of condition that the contractor has to meet with staff prior to construction. If there's a methodology that they need to review with staff, that could be conditioned.
No, I mean, it's a concern. You're gonna put a septic in the driveway. You're gonna put, you've got hardly enough room to turn around on the lot, and you're gonna be tearing it down, and then you're gonna build a new house. And you got all of the, that's absolute, and this is right in a delicate area, about as tight as you could make it. That should have been thought through before you made your presentation.
Right, in terms of methodology and the tightness of the site, this is the property. This is all wetland, and this is another private owner.
I understand.
The access and the tightness of the site will not change regardless of what kind of a project takes place here. So if a methodology from the actual contractor that gets selected is something that the board wants to see in record, that could be conditioned. But there's no way around that the site is completely enclosed by wetlands and the buffers. But there's also no denying that the project, if built with the wetlands in mind that they're going to be protected, is going to be a much improved site from current conditions.
I hear what you're saying, and and maybe it's the teacher in me that goes back before I was in construction. And one of the things I found when people make presentations, oftentimes the projects go through a lot more easily when the applicant submits a complete plan, has all the ducks in a row, has the methodology, has his team in place, and comes in prepared. There are fewer questions, and more often than not, those projects get approved pretty quickly. Now, at the very least, we're going to have a continuance. So much for tonight's lecture. No other questions.
Thank you, Courtney. Maureen?
All right, a couple questions. All those decks are all legally and they were always permitted?
Yes.
Okay, and you approve of that?
The building assessor's department's information says it was built in 1972, and that's the dimensions that they're calling out on the assessor's records.
From 72, okay. Because I know they seem to grow over the years, so I just want to make sure. And it wasn't assessors of now, but assessors of 72. Maybe you could submit that to us. Why are you, I think this is a great improvement. Actually, the two improvements are the elevation and the elevating the house and putting a D-night system in. Nothing's getting smaller other than that. I mean, the house isn't getting smaller, nothing's getting smaller. So this would be the opportunity on where the proposed deck is to the west. You are 3 feet off the limit of work. And that deck was built in 72, or I'm sure it's been remodeled since 72. Am I correct?
I don't know if there's been improvements done to the deck or replacement
that's a good
of any decking.
So there's a lot of trees are going. you're protecting a lot, which is good, but I don't know why you're not saving that one that's on the corner. And then you're proposing a tree in the mitigation, and when we do that, we don't count that mitigation underneath the tree. You know, so you have it in the mitigation.
Right,
So-
but the area is not including the tree area.
Okay, well, I'll check that. So the tree that's close to there, which would be to the south corner, southeast corner, why is that being removed?
For the demolition and the construction of the new house.
No, it's not, it's way over here in the corner, way down in the corner by where you're putting your, where it says stockade fence, gate, top of coastal bank. See the big tree? No, move your finger, keep going towards it, keep going this way. To
The
the
trees
east.
that are to be removed are these two.
No, we're on the other side of
and
the,
this.
we're way over on your mitigation where you have your hash mark. I'm in the mitigation. All right, outside the mitigation, there's a tree being removed. Why is that being removed?
Which one?
Right here.
Sorry, I don't see that one.
Don't look at his color, the color plan has, I'm sorry, bro, the color plan, this one right by the color plan does not have an X on it. His main plan has an X on it. That's why
Or
you're
what,
confused.
what
Yes,
date are you looking at?
What date?
I'll clarify that. There's a revised plan.
June 6th?
Yeah, June 6th?
There's a revised plan following the first hearing from Board of
Okay,
Health.
then I don't have that, I'm sorry, I don't have June 6th.
Yeah, it's not on the plan I'm
Okay, so
looking
that one's
at.
being saved, okay. So
So-
let me make sure I have June 6th.
Before the revised plan, the leaching field was proposed in this location, and there was another tree proposed for removal.
June 6th came in last.
The leaching field is now being proposed further away from the house.
Okay, all right, I'm sorry, I apologize. I picked up my packet the night of last week, and that was, I haven't been back. So I did not get the revised plan. Okay, that being said, we'll move on from there. Next, why are none of the trees labeled their DBH or their species? Maybe that's on the new plan too, so I'm not sure.
No,
So,
they're not labeled.
having little puffballs, we have no clue what they are. Oaks, cupolas, cedars, 12-inch, 18-inch, 48-inch.
They're deciduous, from what I can see on the plan.
We do usually
No,
have
the
big
deciduous,
calibers.
the deciduous are the cedars that you're replanting, but the ones you're cutting down.
Are
you just say
deciduous.
deciduous.
There's two, and one.
We need them marked. We need the DBH, the inches, how many they are, so that we know what you have to give us back if we let you cut them down. Aerials, 3-foot limit of work. Dewatering is about 15 feet off the salt marsh. I think I'm with Court on that, you know, a little more methodology. I read it, I mean, what are you expecting the gallons per minute in that dewatering basin?
Right, what we're expecting the use of that is for the setting the two tanks. It looks like the bottom of them would definitely be in proximity to the groundwater. The intention and what we've seen lately of septic system installers is they use what they call the dewatering bags.
Yep, they put them in the filter bag, but that's not what you have on here.
Right,
Again,
the methodology could be provided to the record from the contractor directly. But the intention is for the lowering of the groundwater for setting the two tanks. Depends on what type of pump the contractor decides to use, the flow of them will be.
What's how deep is that tank, that hoop tank? They're pretty big.
Right, they're going, I believe, to elevation 4.
Okay, thank you. That's all for now.
All right. Jamie?
Air conditioning condensers. Any location for those?
Well, Jamie, those are gonna be up, because if this thing has to be in the velocity zone, don't they have to be raised? Doesn't the air conditioning units have to be raised above the flood zone?
Does it matter?
They should be on there. Are those little bumps on the side, Raul? No?
We don't show any proposed pads or anything. Right now, there are pads on the site, on the
Okay,
ground,
yeah.
but we're not proposing new pads for any utilities outside.
They can't be up.
So those are going to be removed?
Yes,
Or it
it's
doesn't have
being
to be.
called out to be removed.
Any AC units that are installed, I don't, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but don't they have to
They
be
have to be
raised
elevated.
up too?
Yes.
And that's all I'm asking. I mean, they can be hung off the wall too, right?
Yeah,
Depending what they are.
All the mechanics have to be above.
yeah.
Is the fence staying? Stockade?
There's no proposed changes to the fence. So yes,
And is this the plan you're submitting to the Board of Health?
the revised plan is the one that's being submitted. I believe the hearing is next Monday.
Do we need to do anything contingent on that?
I don't have the revised plan, so
Um,
I would, yeah.
They have to submit to the Board of Health. It doesn't necessarily, the regulations don't necessarily say the Board of Health has to make a determination prior to your determination. This will get continued, as Courtney says, because I believe, Courtney, you want a lot of information. So we should be able to have at least a sense of which way the Board of Health is going by the next hearing.
Thank you.
Okay, Steve?
The spray painted boxes on the driveway represented, I was unfamiliar with when, as a learning experience. There was a number
Well,
of,
he had it painted all the way. Actually, it was runway lights for Courtney. Yeah, because they had it painted all the way up.
right,
There's some boxes up by the driveway.
no, these were closer
No,
to
yeah,
the,
it was all the way up.
it was by the stockade fence, and from there back 30 feet. I thought it was denoting a septic, or I had no idea. I was
No,
just-
for the septic, we don't have much information. We've been told that it's approximately in this location, but that's all we know.
Well, those were staked, but the leaching piece of it was painted on the ground.
That's what it
But
was.
it's more than what you're showing on the plan, so maybe it was a routing for piping or something, or...
So when it's staked on the ground, if the staking would have taken place in the driveway or parking lot, usually the survey crew uses paint to
Right.
mark on the ground instead of driving stakes in the middle of driveways. So the painting is probably what you're thinking about. When it was staked in this location, which was the one that was revised, because now the septic is, the leaching field is now over here. But when it was staked, it was the first submission to this application, which was located over here.
Right, well, I saw the box back here, but there seemed to be another one. I didn't know whether it was another structure of some sort. If it wasn't, it wasn't. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Yeah.
What is the driveway going to be made of?
The information is going to remain the same. That's what we've been told. Right now, it's just a third driveway.
Right.
I mean, on the scale map, it's 7 feet wide if I try to scale it.
It's very
And I
narrow.
think, Courtney, you're not going to get anything down there to do the construction on such a driveway. I think, I would certainly like to see a little more careful description of what this driveway looks like in the course of construction. You've got the limit of work popping in to go around those two trees, and the trucks are going to knock those trees down, pulling down when they're driving in with the concrete or whatever they have to drive in with. And I suppose everybody who drove down there had a heck of a time getting out. If you backed out, I didn't back out, I tried to turn around, and it took me longer than it should have just to get back and forth in order to get around. So it'd be nice to see what the owner actually expects to have down there near his house, and whether those trees are really going to stay there, and if there's enough room to actually get a car turned around, because
Wasn't that long ago?
can't imagine anybody had the patience to drive out more than 2 or 3 back out, more than 2 or 3 times. Give up on that. description of what the driveway is, maybe scale it out down so it's actually big enough to handle the construction, and show what it looks like adjacent to the house.
For construction access and for the driveway, the information we have is that the construction access will need to remove this one tree, not just for the septic, but also for construction access, and removal of these 2 trees for construction of the house and removal of the house. And the information we have is that the driveway will be replaced in kind.
What about the trees that might have to go on the side where you've got that little bump out to avoid them, but I don't know if you're going to be able to avoid them. Right down a little lower.
Yeah,
Right
there.
there. Those little trees are almost in the driveway.
so they are.
When you're driving a car down, if you're driving a vehicle with 10 yards of concrete.
Jamie, how big is a concrete truck? How wide?
I'm sorry.
How wide is a concrete truck?
Concrete truck with
10 feet?
No,
No,
it's
Um,
probably 7 feet wide, 8 feet.
Probably
there's
86.
federal laws,
You can't
They're gonna
be
take
out.
it down.
no more than 8
It's
feet
like
wide.
6 feet
84 inches.
For a concrete truck, a lot.
So no more than 8 feet wide. So where those trees are, where that bump out is, and you're narrowing it to come to the house, you're looking at 10 feet right there. That truck can get down there with a 1-foot clearance on either side?
And then back out.
How's he getting out?
Of course, they're better drivers than I am.
I think that's.
I don't have the answer for now,
No,
but I
know you-
understand
know
we
you
have to
don't.
have an answer
We're
for
like,
it.
you're putting you on the spot. I think this is just kind of goes back to Courtney's concern about methodology and everything else. So if you could tighten that up and give us a lot more information on. I know it's tough when you don't have a contractor already, a contractor yet, I get that, but try to give them a greater comfort level. How about that?
Right, Courtney?
Courtney.
Yeah, I hope you don't get the impression from the general grumpiness that's been expressed here that this is not a project that can be done. I think, at least in my impression, there's a lot of potential good by elevating the house and that kind of thing. Those are positives. I'm not, the issue of breakaway panels needs to be addressed by this board. I'm not inclined to think that they should go there. And as a matter of fact, the elevations that I saw of the house that were done by Hutker seem, take into account that it's wide open, and so, except for one area in the middle. So, the end product hopefully will be, and looks like it'll be an improvement over what's there, and that's a blessing. But to get from where it is now, where we are now, to the finished product, that's where the devil and the details are missing, and until I see that and are satisfied that it's doable, I, for one, can't approve it.
All right, anybody else on the board?
In future review, can we all have the same set of plans? I don't seem to have any dated June 6th. And I was there today.
They were submitted to you, they were received in our office on June 7th. They should have been put in your packet.
I was in the office today.
Yeah, I know.
but-
I will double check with Courtney, and I apologize for that.
No, I'm sure that they were there somewhere. I think we're all looking at different things.
Yeah.
And I appreciate
Usually,
Courtney's
the
comments on
the
this
applicant did submit the plans in the proper amount of time. I will check with the office to make sure that you guys
Can we
get
just
the
get rid of
plans.
all these and start over with a new set?
Probably.
I mean, we need to have these for archives, but
Yeah, well, we keep all of the copies of the plans, but for you guys, I'm sure it's down in your thing, but we'll make sure. I'll write a note for her.
And if I can just add, the revision was for the leaching field, and it was something that was requested at the first hearing with the Board of Health.
okay.
So that revision was when this leaching field was over here, and it was changed to be in this location. So along with that revision, a tree that was being proposed to be removed here is no longer to be removed, but then a tree that's here is now proposed to be removed. So those were the changes in that revision. It's, in overall, it's an improvement. The leaching field is further away from the resources.
Yeah.
The main reason for the shifting of the leaching field was separation to groundwater. At the location that it was being proposed, the bottom of the leaching field would have been 4 feet from the high groundwater, and now it's being proposed at more than 4 feet. So that was the whole purpose.
Right. I'm not an expert on septics. Thank you for the answer. Does that require a grinder pump then?
Mary,
to-
do you have the June 6th?
The type of septic system that being proposed has a pump, so everything is being pumped anyway. So, yes, it requires a pump system.
All right,
Yeah, I would hope the next time you come in front of us, you do something more like a project we recently approved in a very, very similar kind of situation where very tight, very sensitive zone, and the applicant showed up with the entire team, architect, engineer, builder,
That was a good presentation.
and they could all answer our questions, they could hear our concerns. And this is a situation similar to that demands that same kind of attention to detail. And all you're doing in that is you're serving not only this board, but you're serving your client as well.
thanks, Courtney. Any comments from the public for this project? All right, let's talk
I'm gonna
dates.
Yes, I'm going to ask for
Or-
a continuance.
Give me 1 second, madam.
7/12.
Did I not bring that upstairs? Oh, no, it's right here. I was gonna say, I know I did. Well, it's not gonna be on the 28th, that's for sure. You're looking at, you can have July 12th or July 19th, Raul.
You have to be full the 19th.
The 19th? Okay.
At the request of the applicant, to continue this to July 19th.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Well, I just want to make one comment. Just, you know what your marking orders are?
You want me to go over what I have, Raul?
Yeah, 4 bullets.
Oh, I have a lot more than that.
I do too.
I have, well, check about the, mine are check away on the breakaway panels and possibly an elevator unit in there, which would go to Courtney's request from certain actuals. So I want to see, you know, you're going to have to enclose some space underneath that structure for a staircase and an entryway, so I kind of want to see that. And that will show up on the architecturals. We need the assessor's information showing the old structure and the decks. We have to label the trees and the species in the caliper inches. We need a detailed dewatering methodology. I need a detailed site management methodology if you can provide one. And Mark would like some information regarding the driveway and how that's going to be restored, and whether or not the construction vehicles can actually access down that driveway without removing the 2 trees near that bump out. Did I get everything, guys? Oh,
Right.
AC units for Jamie.
Yep, and shower, if they're going to have an outdoor
Yep.
shower. They might want to do a dry run with a truck.
And that will probably all look, the AC units might be also identified in the architecturals. So I think in this case, Raul, just given the sensitivity of the site, architecturals are going to be really important for the board to have to review this, to give them a comfort level. That was more than 4. You could have had them grouped together.
Well, yeah, I have construction methodology included like 4 of them.
Yeah, okay.
I would delete from your list on the construction methodology, the words "if possible."
Oh, okay, sorry.
All right.
And I mean detailed, from the day the first guy walks on that job until the project closeout. I don't want just a one-page summary that doesn't tell me anything. You're wasting everybody's time. It has to go to 50 pages. That's how detailed I want it.
Sir Grumpy has spoken.
You're in the neighborhood, keep an eye on it.
Okay.
One more question.
On the motion,
One more, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
But, because he's gonna have to come back anyway, but you only have straw wattles. You're digging a 4-foot water line in a 10-foot wide road layout, and a wattle's this big around. You need more to protect there than that. I don't see how that's gonna stop. I mean, it's a 4-foot dig.
Yeah,
Right,
near
that's
a
a lot of
wetland and a
material.
salt marsh.
I'm not usually, I mean, I like the wattles personally over the straw bales, but I
We
don't
can
think
combine it with a silt fence, because if we put hay bales, the hay bales is going to occupy
4
4
feet.
feet, 2 feet on either side.
Well, again, that's what worries me. I'm okay with the wattles and the silt fence, but anybody knows how a silt fence is supposed to be installed. You don't just stake it into the ground and make it look pretty. It has to be dug in, and, how much damage does that do within, 5 feet of the salt marsh? So you work on that. How's that? You come back with something good in your methodology.
All right, we ready to vote on the motion to continue to July 19th? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Thanks, Raul.
Thank you, Raul.
See ya.
Oh, no, he's here for a few more.
Okay. Michael Follick, 6 Uncatina North, West Falmouth, Massachusetts, for permission to raise, R-A-Z-E, the existing dwelling and construct a single-family house with attached garage, decks, install native tree and shrub plantings, 3-foot wall, utilities, septic connection, dry wells, driveway, to remove the pool shed and rebuild pool patio, replace fencing and walkways, existing wood stairs down the coastal bank along with the railings for the concrete steps and walkway in the same footprint, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
New plan. Everybody looking at a...
6/6?
Nope, revised date of 6/12. Raul, do you have copies of your plans that were
How did we
submitted
get 'em?
yesterday? You do, good. No, for the board.
That's the graphic that I just handed out.
That's May.
This is the one right here
Add proposed pool shed revised planting notes.
with no date on it.
I have
This one? Is this
2 plans dated with May dates on it.
For Uncatina? Wait a minute, am I on the right, wait a minute.
Yes. May.
Uncatina submitted a revised plan
Let me make sure.
yesterday.
I do not have that.
I don't think I have that.
Well, it's probably downstairs in your packets, which is why things are supposed to be submitted a week in advance, Raul.
I think it should be a procedural just to continue it.
I
because
agree.
not one
I
of
was
us have
here
looked at it.
Monday. and
But
picked up
if I can explain what the revision was, you can probably understand that.
There it is.
what,
My bad on the first one for not going the next day after a hearing on Wednesday night, then on Thursday to pick up a plan. Your bad tonight for bringing a plan in 2 days ago, that not one person, even diligent her, who goes down and picks her box up every minute.
no, that's not true. I usually go the week during the hearing, so.
Yeah.
Then, if I'm allowed to open it with the original plan, I can present it that way.
Which is a 522 plan?
Yes.
And what's the difference?
For the record, Raul Lizardi from Holmes & McGrath, representing the applicant. The revision is that the homeowner met with the pool contractor, and the initial idea was to remove the existing pool equipment shed, but the pool contractor informed him that he still needs a shed if he didn't want to reinstall conduits and excavate from the house to the pool shed to provide electricity.
One second, so basically it boils down to the fact that you were going to remove the pool shed, but now you're gonna leave it there?
We're gonna propose a new pool shed that is half the size.
Okay. Jen, have you reviewed that? And
I just saw, honestly, I'm gonna have to tell you, just saw the plan in my, my inbox today. But I understand what they are doing. They're removing some of the lawn by the pool. They're doing, revised plantings up in that area where the ivy is. And then down by the shed, they're kind of kicking the old shed closer and kitty cornering it to the swimming pool.
Okay, so there's a copy in the file, and Jennifer has a copy, and nobody else has.
This, May 22nd?
No. Oh, no, we're looking for a June, what is it?
June 12th.
June 12th.
Hey, is this the June 12th?
Yes, the
And
colored
even if
version
you put a
is
date
June
on
12th.
that, we could have submitted it. I mean, I would have, all right, June 12th.
But I can explain the project as originally submitted,
All right.
and towards the end, I can address
Thank you,
the
Ralph.
change.
I think we need to, I'll just take a moment to say, I think we need to tighten up our implementation of our own rules here. You know, we get strict and then we get more lax, and when we get more lax, people take advantage of it, so.
When are they supposed to technically be submitted? A
Week in advance.
The Wednesday before, they should. be in.
Wednesday before to submit so that
By
Courtney
5
can
p.m.
put it in your
So
packet.
why do
And
we
I
allow
can,
this then?
what was that?
Why do we allow this?
These
don't
are
have-
kind of illustrations to a big presentation, I
Oh, okay,
believe.
fair enough. Sorry, I didn't
Well,
know.
these are illustrations to help you during the hearing, but they're also supposed to be the plan that you're looking at. And this particular one is not the plan that you guys have in front of you, because the plan this depicts is the one that was submitted yesterday. And I did not realize there was a new plan submitted until today, so I apologize for
Yeah,
that,
because I
guys.
mean, a lot of us pick these things up
And that is,
before and study them, and then you get a
Right.
revision, and it's like, now you gotta find what's,
Jamie,
like
I
looking for
understand,
Waldo.
which is why
Right.
we asked them to submit it a week in advance, which
you
your
do the
last
short straw.
plan, the
And
last
just to say,
plan
the
was done.
revised plans that you submit, if you color them ahead of time, I'm good with that.
Yeah, that might be,
No, it
too
doesn't.
costly, but,
I think
Well,
you should ask for a continuance.
yeah, I agree.
It's honestly,
We've all
the project is the
reviewed the wrong
house.
plan. I'm sorry. I don't like doing this, but I think we really should.
and the trees aren't depicted size, species, again.
So, what do we wanna do?
I'd like,
I would-
As an aside, Jen, would you
Actually, there's
have
not
Courtney,
even
the other one,
dimensions of the
the other
house.
Courtney,
Yes.
send a memo to all the engineers who appear
would
before
be
us,
happy
that
to
if they don't get them in a week in advance, we won't consider their application.
Could, you know, there's another thing that that's been missing, and I'm sorry you're getting the heat tonight, because Mike Borselli got off scot-free, and he should be standing here with you. There's not
He's
even
outside.
dimensions
You
on,
wanna go get him?
there's not even dimensions on the house. So we really don't even know what the square footage, within a coastal bank, within, you know, da-da-da-da, whether it's, you know, salt marsh, a coastal bank, a V-zone. We have no idea of what was there. You just you have by structures, 14%, 0.4, and then by structures of maybe 28.9. That's all we have.
Yeah,
We
and
have-
the dimensions are on the revised plan,
Oh.
just to say.
The dimensions were in both plans, actually. There was a
Right.
detail at a 10 scale.
They were on the plans I looked at.
yeah, I would,
I'm gonna get a secretary to bring me my stuff in my box,
Figure out the square feet
because I don't have it in mine.
without working.
what's the pleasure? Anybody want to make a motion about this?
I'm gonna make a motion that we continue this until we see the revised plan.
Second.
Oh, at least a week before we're supposed to meet.
Well, you have it
We
down
have
in
it
your
down there,
packets.
so we can see it next week.
You don't meet next week, and you're not hearing it on the 28th.
How could I not have it?
There you go.
Do you have anything to say about this, Jen?
The actual project is basically the house. So it really is up to the board. I see the changes, although there are changes.
Is the proposed deck moving closer, or is that,
I don't want to get into discussing the plan until
Okay.
we decide whether or not we're continuing this.
So we'll all meet, make a presentation.
When's the next available date, Jen?
I mean, all it is, really, guys, is just moving the little shed. That's all it is moving the shed.
So what you were saying about
The
shrubs is-
landscaping, well, the landscaping, that's part of the project, but it's just a little shed.
All right,
All right, I'll withdraw in a second.
okay. We're-
So go forward. I think Raul gets it, that no matter how minor it is, they're going to get, no matter how minor it is, Raul, word, just have them, just tell them you're going to have, at the hearing, that you're going to be submitting a revised plan on the pool shed and ask for a continuance. But it's just a shed, Madam Chairman.
All right, well, Jamie has withdrawn his second. Maureen, which way, you want to withdraw your motion or not?
So, there's my plan.
personally, no, but for the board's sake, yes.
All right, let's go.
Because I think it's time we start hammering, getting this stuff nailed down, so that's why we stay here all night. And we don't get paid. We're volunteers, and we do our best, and we only have so much time to go down and get our little stuff out of our boxes. That's your job, to put it in the box for us on time.
Yeah, one suggestion I would have also is that if revisions come in after the date that they're due, perhaps we could get an email to tell us that.
Or don't accept them for the hearing. I don't know, that's something to talk about. That's we need a night off and just discuss all
Next
this
week.
stuff. No,
Oh,
and come in and talk
All
about
right,
it.
I'm sorry, let's go.
Focus.
Thank you, Ralph, for your patience. We will
Just
hear the
clarification,
project.
am I asking for a continuance now, or
No,
am I
you're not
presenting?
asking.
No,
for an
we've decided.
You're saved
To open it now.
This time.
this time.
Thanks for the
You owe,
opportunity.
Jen.
Yes, you do, oh, Jen.
So for the record, Raul Lizardi from Homes and McGrath, representing the applicant. The project at number 6 on Catena North, the owner is Michael Pollack. The project is raising the existing structure and garage and replacing it with a new single-family dwelling and attached garage. The resources are land under the ocean, land containing shellfish, land subject to coastal storm, flooding, rocky intertidal shore, and a coastal bank. The coastal bank is armored. The top of the armored stone is the top of the coastal bank.
Mr. Chairman? Chairman,
I'm sorry.
are we then instructed to ignore this?
No, that's the one you're looking at.
This
What
has
I'm saying
all
is you
sorts
can
of
use the whole-
dimensions on it beyond just a little shed that are different.
You can use the existing plan,
Well,
correct?
what is the right
You
plan?
can, okay, guys,
what-
listen to me for 1 second. You can use your plan dated May 22nd, okay? So everybody look at your plan dated May 22nd,
With update title block,
plot plan prepared for,
Yes?
okay? Use that plan. The only difference between that plan and the new plan is the location of the pool shed.
Well, the house elevation is different. The garage elevation is different. Some distances are marked different. Plot.
Jen, if I can explain.
Okay.
The submitted plan one.
I don't see a difference in the house
Yeah,
elevation.
the-
They both say
This is the one that has
35.
a
this is the
35.
plan she was told us.
My
We have
original one has
33.
It's existing.
33.4.
There's a plan of existing condition.
Pardon?
No, this is not the, she said the plot plan, not the plan of existing conditions.
My
So that's
mistake.
this.
Thank you.
The plot plan,
We're okay.
as opposed to
We're good.
existing conditions, has the same
Carry on.
information. All right. I think-
So the plan of existing condition was submitted, that hasn't changed.
Yes, I think we're fine now. We're fine.
So the existing dwelling to be raised is completely located within the Palmer Buffer Zone B. The proposed dwelling is completely located within the Palmer Buffer Zone B. The existing shed, it's approximately in this it's actually in this location, and it's of a size of 6 by 8. That shed is proposed to be removed, and in place, half the size shed is proposed. The shed will continue to house the pool equipment and the power to the pool heating system. In doing that, it avoids having to trench new conduits to and from the house, because the initial thought was to have all the pool equipment in the house. The existing pool will remain. The pool patio is proposed to be replaced within the same footprint. The house is proposed to keep the same front line as the existing one, because there is a Title V septic system, and the existing Title V septic system will remain in place. At the front of the house, there are 3 cedars. One of them is actually rubbing against the corner of the garage. Those 3 cedars are proposed to be removed. On the back of the house, there are 2 cedars close to the existing deck. And for those who've been to the site, the cedars have been grown and sort of pushed by the wind in this area. And all the limbs on these 2 cedars are leaning, and the cedar itself is leaning towards the house. So the proposal is to remove those 2 trees. In overall, the proposed work increases development area. There's a reduction on the A zone, but there's an increase on the B zone. The overall increase is a net of 150 square feet. And we're proposing to plant mitigations of 300 square feet. Some mitigation will be occupying the area of the existing shed, and the rest of the mitigation is proposed on the northern side of the property. Along with the mitigation, we have proposed 5 cedar trees, 3 along the north side, 1 in the area where the existing shed is, and 1 within a landscape area. We're also proposing as an improvement dry wells to collect roof runoff. Currently, there is daylighting of roof runoff into the coastal bank. So we're proposing to intercept all roof runoff and direct them into dry wells. The proposed house is moving closer to the resources, but still within the B zone. The plan shows the footprint of the existing deck, which is the closest portion of the house. The proposed deck is going closer, but still within the B zone. The A zone is not full, but we're proposing to mitigate within the A zone, all the mitigation area. There's another area in this section of the property that has been cut. This portion of area, which is hatched different than the mitigation area, is called to be restored with the same type of species as the proposed mitigation plantings. There's an existing wooden staircase that accesses the water, and it's proposed to be rebuilt in kind. There's also existing remnants of what seems to be an old structure, wooden structure, and the planks of wood are piled on this concrete platform. We're proposing to remove that from that platform. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Raul. All right. We have things we haven't discussed yet. Mark?
Nothing.
All right, Steve?
It says new pool fence to replace existing fence. Was there a fence there at some time?
Never.
The only fence that's there is the existing post and rail fence. So we're proposing to remove the fence, but we have to have a pool fence. So currently there is no
Not
pool
my job,
fence.
but yes, you do. Right.
So the reconstruction of the patio will include a pool fence.
And the two trees in the front of the house, they're the large cedars that are,
There's 3 cedars.
no, in the front, I mean on the base side.
Yes, the two on the back are about 14 and 16 inch cedars. They're pretty substantial.
Oh, they are, yeah. Okay, that's what I have. Thank you.
All right, Jamie.
I think you said this, but it meets Title V,
The existing septic system is a Title V septic
no
system.
change in bedrooms.
No change in bedrooms.
Thank you.
Maury?
Are they going to be redoing the swimming pool?
The swimming pool will remain. What they're doing, they're removing the springboard.
Yep.
I did hear at one time that
In the patio, right, Raul?
the patio is being redone.
Yeah.
I heard that the deepest part is about 12 foot deep. They may shallow it, but the pool remains in that same.
Okay, and the
location.
reason I'm asking is there's so little room to get down there, so if they're bringing any equipment, that's why I just want to know if they were doing it, but if they're.
Right,
just-
but the house is going to be completely raised. So
Okay.
if they have to do any
They're
heavy
going to do that
equipment work,
before, okay.
This would be a
And work
check.
their way
Perfect.
out.
Work their way out, perfect. The next question I have is, where the shed is now being moved in your color copy,
It's being rebuilt, yeah.
it's being rebuilt, or whatever it's going to do. You had mitigation planting there originally, and that is going to be compensated somewhere else. Did I miss that? You said it.
right. So the original plan, when we didn't have
Yeah.
the new shed, we had more mitigation here.
Yeah.
The loss of that mitigation times 2 because of the compensation, it's all added up
It's
here.
moving over there, because the other one's restoration for illegal
That's
cutting.
correct.
Okay. And then, again, could we have the caliper inches on these trees that you're removing, and the caliper inches that we're getting back? Again, I only have this plan.
The 2 trees that I paid attention on size were the 2 trees on the back that are being
So roughly
removed.
30 inches?
That was about a 12 inch and a 14 inch. I mean, a 14 inch and a 16 inch. The 3 out front, I'm not really sure their sizes. I know they're all 5 cedar trees,
Yep.
and we're proposing 5 new cedar trees.
And the structure is moving closer to the coastal bank?
The structure is getting closer up to the 50-foot line right here.
I know it's getting closer to the V zone, but it's also getting closer to the coastal bank.
Yes.
And that's a revetted coastal bank that's in disrepair? Is there going to be work done on that?
It doesn't look like any stones are slumping out of the...
Did you look by that fence
We did.
and the big holes that are in there underneath?
The existing riprap is completely covered in a vine.
Yep, bittersweet.
So the stones that we saw, we didn't saw them displaced. On top of the stone, there is some vegetation, and then we have a post and rail fence.
Well, I would strongly recommend, because when I looked, to maybe bring your little clippers along and cut back some of the bittersweet, because there are huge voids that you can look, it's like, it's an eggshell. So just, only if the house is going to be torn down, they have to do the work on the seawall, they might want to address and look at that seawall before they, and again, they're not doing any mitigation for invasives, and that whole thing, the entire thing is invasives on that. It's Rose rugosa, bittersweet, poison ivy is good, but, so you might want to look at that before they build the house, because then you will not have access down there. to
We'll
get-
bring that up to the clients.
Okay. And caliper inch, that's it. Oh, are the stairs licensed?
We have aerial photographs from the 70s that it shows all of these structures developed as is. The stairs are above the mean high water, so there's no license required.
I,
The
no,
concrete,
they're not.
the concrete walk is within the water, but the stairs are not.
No,
This-
I mean, where the concrete goes down the walk, and then there's like steps and a landing. So
Right,
they say they're,
this concrete platform and stuff, this is not what's being rebuilt. The wooden stair starts from this point all the way
That's
to,
that's not what I asked. I said, is the concrete that's in the water below mean high water licensed?
I don't have that information.
Okay. That's all, thank you. And what is the pool fence going to be consisted of? Chain link?
I don't have that information.
Courtney?
Probably going to have to be chain link, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, I want to reinforce what Maury said. And I'd like to see it written into the order of conditions. I'd like to see all the work to the seaward side of that house done prior to the, you tear down the house, and then you do all that work. And if it involves reconstructing the seawall, and that has to be done, that gets taken care of. Rebuilding the stairs, that gets taken care of. Mitigation planting, so that gets taken care of. The new patio for the swimming pool and all the mechanicals get taken care of. The dry wells that are shown on here all get put in before the house starts to be reconstructed. Because I don't see how you're going to get within the limit of work. I mean, it's tight. We want 10 feet, and they're in 10 feet. So, you know, there is 10 feet without a house there. So that absolutely has to be done. And not only would I want that built into the order, but I'd want to see that, that the contractor takes a quiz, so he's clear. You know, he has to get an A on the quiz in order to get the house get reconstructed.
I'm sorry.
No
Go
other
ahead.
comments.
2 more questions. The runoff from that driveway, are you planning to capture that anywhere? And it might be on the plan I don't have.
We thought about it. Currently, the driveway, there's pavement along the side of the existing garage. We couldn't put an interception catch basin because it wouldn't comply with the setbacks for the septic system.
Well, maybe you could put them further down, because that is a sluiceway. It goes straight down there. As a matter of fact, it used to fill that swimming pool. Just so
Right,
you know, the road runoff used to fill the swimming pool with silt and gravel.
So for those who went to the site, right in front of the garage, there's like a built trench, because the runoff coming down used to go inside the garage and flood the garage. But yes, right now the runoff is coming down this way.
It goes right in the pool.
A compromise that we can do is installing a catch basin and rerouting it to one of the dry wells.
Okay, well, you're the engineer. You figure that one out, but you got to capture it. And then there was, my chain of thought. Oh, I forgot, but I might remember it before we continue it. Oh, species and calipers. We need all the existing trees. We have no sizes and no species.
Board going to want a continuance on this? Yes?
Yes,
Okay.
that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Raul, you're going to have to go and look at that seawall and see what your clients
Yeah.
want to do with that.
That might be the main reason for the continuance, in
Yeah.
case you need to do something with that.
I'm assuming you want the 19th again, Raul? Oh.
Is there anything from the public? Anybody who wants to speak on this? All right.
I have one more question.
Oh, okay, Jamie, go ahead.
In light of the drainage, you have in the approximate northwest corner, you have the roof drain to be eliminated. What is the drain pipe?
There's a PVC pipe right here,
Yeah.
and that's, with the demolition of the existing house, that pipe will no longer receive any runoff. And then we're going to be collecting it with new roof drain pipes.
Okay. Again, going back to the old plan, you have the roof drain you have it to be eliminated. You've removed that note on the new plan. See your notes there? Right where you were pointing, but the notes, right there, yep. On the May 22nd, you have that's being removed.
The idea behind that is to remove that pipe, we'll be excavating on that area So
Okay,
we're
but
just
you're
going to
gonna eliminate
abandon, it's just going to
the
be
source.
abandoned by pure reconnection of the new downspouts.
Okay, fair enough. The note above it says just a drain pipe.
Yeah.
What is the source to that?
Right, that pipe we cannot remove because that's coming from the street runoff. That is a much larger pipe for the street.
Okay, well, that's my question, is what's its source? The source is that catch basin.
I believe it's that catch basin, but I don't know if there's other catch basin connected to it.
Lovely.
Thank you.
All right, Jen, you were saying July 19th?
Yeah, I request a continuance to July 19th.
All right. Motion.
So moved.
Motion to continue to, what was it, July 19th?
Can I have a second, please?
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'd be looking at
Unanimous.
those runoff disaster.
All right, next. Cape Cod Camping Club Incorporated, Parcel 12, Thomas B. Landers Road, map 21-05-012-000, East Falmouth, Massachusetts, for after-the-fact permission to remove unauthorized fill, install drainage improvements, site modifications, and grading as Phase 1, then to install native buffer restoration, fence installation, maintain erosion control measures, provide maintenance and monitoring, install patios and fire pits as Phase 2, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
Good evening, for the record, Raul Lizardi, representing the applicant Cape Cod Camping Club, located in Thomas B. Landers. The project is actually a follow-up to an enforcement order. Back in January, there was an enforcement order issued on the property for some activity taking place within the wetland regulation. The activity was happening within 100 feet of a BBW, and the activity consisted of some fill and some erosion that was taking place. Staff from Conservation visited the site to review work that was approved under an RDA, and they noted the work that was taking place that was unpermitted. They contacted us. We also contacted the property owner, and we were hired to represent them for the enforcement order and also for the notice of intent. Under the enforcement order, the board agreed with staff recommendation to allow some of the work to take place prior to the application of a notice of intent and the issuance of a order of conditions, simply because immediate action was beneficial for the wetland resources and the buffer areas. That initial work that was allowed under the enforcement order was also to allow heavy equipment machinery to do the work that needed to be done, remove some of the fill that was eroding into, that was placed and eroding into the buffer zone A to the BBW, and also to install a subsurface leaching system for drainage, because most of the drainage from the road at this location was causing the fill to erode into the buffer zone A. So all the heavy equipment work has been done. Limits of work has been established. The buffer zone A to the BBW and buffer zone B were staked on the ground. So this notice of intent application is also to comply with the enforcement order, which required the property owner to submit this order of condition, this notice of intent, to obtain an order of condition, to get into the record the mitigation planting that was required and necessary. The mitigation planting proposed will completely vegetate the buffer zone A. The buffer zone B is also being proposed to be mitigated by planting in the area that was filled up to a new berm. The earth berm will prevent any runoff water from going into the buffer zone A. but more importantly, the drainage system that was installed will collect all the water and dissipate it into the ground. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Jan?
No questions. Raul, the only thing is we might modify your spacing on your planting, and that's it. Okay? Mark had some notes about that to tighten up that spacing.
And you're satisfied with what's happened so far?
Yes.
Courtney, any questions?
Maybe I missed it. When do you propose to have this completed?
I don't have a time frame. I know that they wanted the heavy equipment work to be done because some stipulation they have with the tenants of the campground. So that heavy equipment work is done. As I understand, as soon as they get the order of condition recorded, they want to start doing all this planting so that they don't interfere with the tenants.
So they do it after the season? Is that what you're saying?
I'm thinking the best time to do it will be in the fall so that the plants have a better chance to survive.
Which is after their season, yeah.
Convenient.
Okay, no other questions.
Maureen?
It was a good improvement, and Jen, has anything revegetated back out there that they cut?
Mark was out there, I'll have to check with him.
If I can just add
Yeah.
to that, the amount of fill was substantial.
Yeah.
So the fill was raked back. So some of the buffer zone A may have vegetated slightly, but not by much because everything was raked back. And also the fill that was kept back on the buffer zone B has a erosion blanket. So the planting in there will probably just be hampered.
Okay, thank you. And the berm is a good improvement.
Absolutely.
Mark? Steve?
Nothing.
James? All right.
Make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Not close, Raul.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No
Opposed?
Unanimous.
I'm sorry,
The public.
Public.
I'm sorry. Is there public comment? No, okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, so moved. Thank you.
James.
All right. Continued request for a hearing, I didn't hear that, under a notice of intent. Louis Thornton, 56 Hamlin Avenue, Falmouth, Massachusetts, for permission to raise REZE, the existing dwelling, and construct a single-family 3-bedroom house with attached garage, deck, porch, install a Title V sewage disposal system, utilities, dry wells, driveway, to remove trees and shrubs and install native tree and shrub plantings and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
Madam Chairman, the quorum on this is Steve, Jamie, yourself, Maury, and Courtney. So Mark, you're not on the quorum for this one.
Thank you. My name is Tom Bunker for the record, DSS Design, representing the applicant, Thornton Lewis, not the owner of the property, as a purchase and sale on the property. When I was here last, right before the hearing, staff said that the previous plan showed only the edge of the pond, the inland bank of the pond as the landward resource area. Staff took a section where we had a continuance. Disagreed.
In any case.
In any case, LEC went out, Mark Manganiello went out and flagged the wetland, prepared the data sheets which have been duly filed, and we located the flags that Mark put on the site. The B buffer zone from this vegetated wetland is further landward than the B buffer zone from which shown as the inland bank by about 1.5 feet or so. So for the width of the house, it comes out to, you can see there's about 33 square feet more coverage within the B zone, between A and B. required planting is increased by 66 square feet. So that 66 square feet is shown on there, 30 square feet more on the north side in here, and 36 square feet down here. So we added that planting, and we added 2 more native trees down this location also. So we have a total of 6 native trees. Those would be the minimum 2-inch diameter trees, and a total of 1,168 square feet of mitigation planting. Those were comments from 3 weeks ago. So take any questions.
Madam Chairman, I have one question. Tom, and I'm sorry if I missed you saying this. The dead oak, are you going to take that down?
Yeah, and it was supposed to be marked to be taken
Okay, well,
down.
we'll just put a special condition that it can be removed if the applicant would like it to be removed, since I believe we already gave permission for it to be removed a while ago.
New tree right next to it.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Thank you for doing that for us, Tom.
Yes. Anything, Courtney?
No questions.
No questions.
Jamie?
No
Steve?
questions.
All right.
Close the hearing, take on our file.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Comment?
Aye. Unanimous, so moved.
Public hearing.
Hearing is closed.
Got the public.
Where we go?
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Donald and Kathleen Misheisen, 20 Circle Road, Point, Massachusetts, for permission to raise RAZE, the existing dwelling, and construct a single-family 3-bedroom house with attached garage, deck, entryway, install a Title V sewage disposal system, utilities, dry wells, driveway, retaining walls, to remove trees and shrubs, and install native tree and shrub plantings, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Hello,
One
Teresa.
second, Ms. Sherman. I'm going to find 4. That's good, right?
Good evening.
Steve, Jamie, Beth, sorry, Teresa. Steve, it's all of you except for you, Mark, sorry.
Good evening, Teresa Sprague with Food Flex Design here, representing the Mestisons. We're back with some changes to the plan. Mike is out in the hall, conferring with another engineer. I'm sure he'll be in momentarily, but I'll just run through everything that's changed between the last time we were here. A couple of things that the commission had asked us to look at was adding some additional mitigation within the A-zone on the eastern portion of the property, so to the east of the existing dwelling. We also looked at reducing the size of the project overall and reduce the deck by 4 feet, approximately 150 square feet total. In addition to that, one of the other questions that was asked was a question about the parking, the turnaround for the driveway. And the turnaround was requiring the removal of a pitch pine and a couple of oak trees. We did explore that and laid out several alternatives for the turnaround. None of them were feasible from a safety perspective. So we chose in the end to leave the turnaround in the location where it was located previously for safety purposes. But along with that reduction of the 150 square feet in the deck, we also added an additional 150 square feet of mitigation on the eastern portion in the A-zone for a total of 11,043 square feet for 4,500 square feet in increase in impervious surface. So as you see on the plan, the mitigation that's required for that is 9,550 square feet. So we're proposing just about 1,500 square feet beyond the required mitigation. In addition to that, in order to mitigate for the loss of some of these trees, we added another oak tree just to the north of where those trees would come out, for a total of 31 trees for 12 trees that we are proposing to remove. So that's greater than 2-to-1 ratio for tree replacement for the trees to be removed. I know there was a question last time about caliper inches. The total caliper inches is about 50 caliper inches of trees being replaced. And I don't recall exactly the caliber inches for trees being removed, but obviously this is a very well canopied site. And what we're trying to do is increase the biomass by increasing the overall mitigation. So while we have 31 trees or 12 trees to be removed, at a greater than 2:1 ratio, we are not coming to the total caliber inches being removed, which I think would be impossible for us to do on this site because it's so well canopied. So with that, I'll let Mike add some additional information.
I have one thing to add. The only thing I have to add is one commissioner, I think it was Maury Hawks, wanted a volume of fill. And I submitted a letter that outlines the volume of fill necessary to bring to the site is 50 cubic yards to make the turnout area for the driveway back out level. So it will not exceed 50 cubic yards. And Teresa went over all the other.
Thank you both. Jen?
No questions.
All right. Steve?
No questions.
Jamie?
Thank you.
No questions.
Maureen?
Just when we do ask for the caliper inches of the trees to be removed, it is helpful. We
No,
ask
I
everybody
completely
else.
understand. And just on this site, there's no way we could possibly do a caliper inch for caliper inch replacement.
No,
because it's
that's not what I said, no.
The information.
The information.
Oh.
I understand you couldn't, but we asked for how many caliper inches, and you just said you didn't
Oh,
know.
Mike, it's on Mike's plan. I apologize. It's not on my plan. Was it 200? Mike knows.
139.
Thank you, 139 caliper inches.
And I know it's a lot, and you did a nice job replacing. It's just that when we can't replace, and the caliper inches, we've been talking about this, that more woody indigenous.
Right.
Because when I look at this plan, there's a lot of sweet fern. I know you like your grasses and stuff, but almost everybody else, it's woody indigenous. And the grasses seem to be predominantly increasing on your plans. So I think we need to.
Right, and so in here, we also are adding, and because of the area that we're adding some of the mitigation to in the front of the house that's more on the freshwater wetland than the saltwater wetland, we're able to add things like spice bush and sheep laurel, so some other species that are appropriate for the understory under the pitch pine oak canopy. Some of the other species like the bayberry, beach plum, et cetera, are going along the coastal bank along the river.
And again, keeping them all out of the drip line of the trees.
Yes.
There'll be no planting within the drip line.
Absolutely.
That'll be in the findings. Thank you.
Courtney?
No questions.
All right.
Madam Chairman.
No, I'm sorry, you're not on the quorum.
Did we
I'm
get
sorry?
the height of the landscape wall?
Said you're not on the quorum.
You're not on the quorum.
Oh, okay.
You could
It's
be
on the
a
plan, that's all.
I can
citizen.
still get,
Yes, it is on the plan. The driveway elevation is 14, and the grade on the low side of the wall is 12, so it's like
2 feet, thank you.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing, take it under advisement.
Second.
Any comments from the public? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, so moved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shirley Rothwell, 28 Drift Road, West Falmouth, Massachusetts, for permission to install a new Title V sewage disposal system within naturally vegetated resource area and buffer, to construct a new 6-foot by 12-foot deck, expand existing deck, install an underground electric line, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
All of us?
Okay. Oh, wait. The quorum is everybody according to Jamie.
Oh, thank you, Jamie. For what? Nope. Mark, Steve, Jamie, Mary, Maury, Courtney. See?
Am I up?
Yep.
You're up, Mike.
Madam Chairman, members of the commission, Michael Boselli. This is a continued hearing. At an initial hearing several weeks ago, we made a presentation, we received feedback from you considered revisions to the plan, and we also recommended to the client that she retain the services of Blue Flex Design to do an invasive management plan. So a lot has happened, and there were a couple of continuances where we didn't present because of getting all the information back to you. But on June 7th, we hand-delivered revised plans, and we submitted the plans by Blue Flex Design. And the revisions and additional information are on the revised plans. A couple of things we had the as-built plan for the existing septic system from the inspection report had information that had us incorrectly show where the cesspool was. I think Commissioner Hollowhawks alerted me to where it was, and it's much closer to the street. The revised plan should reflect that. That's a simple thing, but the plan now shows it correctly. There was some concern about providing mitigation planting for the 6x12 deck that is over the top of the walkout doors on the building. Teresa's plan incorporated mitigation planting for that increase. There was talk about looking into putting the septic system on the other side of Drift Road, since it's all one lot.
Right.
And I submitted a separate letter that outlined why we didn't believe that that was appropriate. And I assume you've seen the letter. If you want, I can give you the reasons that we don't think it's a good idea. Should I do that?
Yes,
Okay, so my letter of
please, thank you, Mike.
May 22nd says, we're not recommending that for a number of reasons. First, the septic system that serves the existing house on that side of the street is in the open grassy areas on that side of the street, so there's limited open area available for another septic system. Second, the only partially cleared area available on the east side of Drift Road is not large enough and would require removal of some cedar trees. There's a grove of cedar trees that would have to be removed to make way for it. And third, placing the new leaching field on the east side of Drift Road would require crossing Drift Road. Other existing and possible future underground utilities like water could be impacted, as well as rights of other property owners have rights in Drift Road. And then finally, placing it on that side of Drift Road places it closer to the salt marsh system as opposed to on the west side, which puts it closer to the Buzzard Bay system, which is certainly more dynamic and flushing issues are not a concern. I believe that there was also a question about considering tight tank as an option.
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I just didn't hear it.
About
Tight
the
tank.
There was also discussion about tight tank as an option. I'm open to tight tank, but I don't believe, and I didn't propose a tight tank because of what I read the regulations to say. And that being Title V. I also know there's tight tanks, because I was told that there's other tight tanks on Drift Road. I don't know where they are, but I don't know the fact pattern to those projects. But Title V, I don't have it in this section, I'll just paraphrase it. It says, approval of a tight tank may be granted only to eliminate a failed on-site system, which we have, when no other feasible alternative to upgrade exists. I don't know that I'd ever be able to persuade DEP that we don't have a feasible alternative. The only reason not to consider an actual Title V system would be if there were some justifiable environmental impact. And I think when we were talking about the tight tank, we were talking about it in the light of limiting how much vegetation's needed to be removed to put in the Title V as opposed to a tight tank. You know, if you're looking at that alone, that makes sense, but the vegetation we're removing, we're now planning to remove wholesale because it's all invasive. So the problem with taking out more vegetation to make way for a leaching field as opposed to a less requirement for a tight tank sort of becomes moot if we want to do a master plan to remove all the invasives and then replant with natives. So I don't know that I'd ever be successful getting a tight tank approved through DEP because of this language. So that's why we just think it's doomed to failure. The other properties that you talked about, I don't know the details and specifics. Maybe there was maybe it was closer to a salt marsh, maybe there were other issues I don't know about. I mean, if you don't agree and require us to proceed, I suppose you could consider it as a condition, but I don't believe we'd ever get one. That's why we didn't proceed any further. I can hand this in if you like. I highlighted this section. And I think that sums up my presentation. I'm going to turn it over to Teresa. Discuss the management.
Thanks again, Teresa's Great Blue Flex Design. So when Mike and the property owner, Mrs. Rothwell, contacted me, it was mainly about removing invasive plant species in the area where the proposed septic, or where the area of the septic is proposed. So I just want to show you a couple of photographs of the site. I'm sure you've all been out there at this point, because I know this has been going for a little bit. But this is a photograph of the area where the septic will go from the road. And then this is an area from the driveway looking down towards the road where the septic is going to go. So mainly, it's almost entirely invasive plant species. There are a couple of cedar trees up closer to the house that are in great health and will be able to remain. They won't, you can see them in here. Up in here. They won't be disturbed at all for the septic system or the invasive species removal. So the invasive species present on the site are the typical Asiatic bittersweet, porcelain berry, shrub honeysuckle, vine honeysuckle. You can see from the plan that they run all the way down to the edge of the road and then all the way down the edge of the driveway on this side. So we're proposing to remove the invasive species from the entire area where the septic is going, as well as along this side of the driveway back down to just past where there's an existing stockade fence. We're proposing to restore that with a mix of native shrubs, including beach plum, bayberry, viburnum, as well as 7 eastern red cedar trees. We're also proposing a number of bearberry be planted, particularly over the area where the septic is going to go, where we don't want any large woody vegetation planted on top of the septic system. We'll also seed the entire area with a back dune sand plain plant community, including crinkle hairgrass, poverty grass, purple lovegrass, little blue stem, butterfly weed, asters, and goldenrods. So the goal here is to just sort of restore this to that back dune plant community that it would be if a house did not exist in this area. In the dune itself, the dune is really healthy. You can see here, really happy beach plum, lots of little blue stem, eastern red cedar. Just shrub honeysuckle is just starting to pop up in between in that dune area. So again, we proposed to very selectively hand cut, wipe the stem, and just get this honeysuckle out of here so it doesn't spread throughout the area. This is the area where that 72 square foot deck extension is proposed. It's over a walkout right beneath an existing picture window. In order to mitigate for that, as you know from being out on the site, there's not a lot of unvegetated space. We are proposing 7 beach plums, about 223 square feet in this area here, which I realize is very close to the foundation of the house. But because the rest of the area is vegetated and under your regulations, we can't count mitigation in areas that are already vegetated. This is pretty much the only space it leaves us with. But I think on top of the 9,000 plus square feet of invasive species management and restoration, that 223 square feet of mitigation flows really well into the restored area and makes up for the 72 square feet small deck extension. The other thing that I discussed with the property owner, she's elderly, she's in her late 80s, she has some mobility issues. She has asked that we request 2 things, and one is if it's possible to put in a seasonal roll-up boardwalk on the existing beach path, just for access. It's very difficult for her to walk in this area. And then the stairs are in poor repair and require definitely some repair and maybe a little bit of rebuilding, but they would just like to repair the stairs in place and in kind. So no addition, no movement to the stairs. So with that, I can go through the invasive species management plan, but I haven't received any of these, so I'm happy to answer any specific questions.
Jen?
I have one. Teresa, did you submit the land management restoration plan to us?
Yep, well, it should be submitted.
Can you look in the main file again, Jamie? Because the plan, we got Mike's letter with the 2 plans attached.
I don't have,
Negative.
Yeah,
I don't have yours.
Teresa, can you just submit a couple? Thank you.
How many would you like to
One for the file, one for me. So that's 2. Are you all set, Teresa?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just going to jump in with Madam Chairman, if that's okay.
Yes, it is.
Bearberry.
Right, and we're not counting it as mitigation, just as restoration, and mainly.
Yeah, but you do have it in areas that are beyond where that septic is.
We do, and just mainly as part of, again, doing that sampling back dune plant community, bearberry would be very commonly found in that area. So we are proposing to put some bearberry in there along with the seeded grasses in this area in here. Again, not for any reason other than it's good restoration, that if this house weren't existing, this would likely be the plant community we would find in the area. Obviously, we're not trying to open any views or anything like that. It's just purely for restoration purposes.
Is there anything in that area where the septic is that you can save?
There is literally nothing except for the cedar trees.
I didn't think so.
It's a mess, yeah.
I didn't think so.
And the back, in this area back here, it's fantastic back there. So there's really nothing other than those couple of honeysuckle popping up, but in the front of the house or the street side.
Okay. I'm not sure how the board's going to, well, that's not to you, but Mike, I'm not sure how the board's going to vote on the septic stuff. I have no other questions.
All right, thank you, Jen. Courtney?
Oh, I do, I'm sorry. Mike, well, water line. I know there were questions about that the last time.
Well, he said town water wasn't available.
Okay.
I can go, just quick.
Honestly, because I couldn't find my old plan, so.
All right, well, the way it works is, the well is in the basement here,
Okay.
and it actually serves this house and the house across the street. There's a water line that runs down the driveway over to that house, so it serves both houses, and the well is in the basement.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Courtney?
No questions.
Maureen?
Number one, are you going to have to dig up the water line to sleeve it because it's within 100 feet of the leach field, servicing the other house?
It's more than 10 feet away, so.
Okay, that's good.
We
Perfect, I'm glad, because I don't want you to have to dig it up.
Right.
Perfect. That was an easy one for you, Mike. Not so easy. No, the septic. You failed to continue reading the 310 CMR.
Okay,
You should have kept going. You should have gone to what they told you to say when they go 310 CMR 15.2608 is the local approving authority or the department may allow the use of a tight tank at an existing seasonal used residential facility as a remedial upgrade to the failed system serving such family. That's a seasonal home, it can have a tight tank.
Okay, so I saw that. I
You
did read
saw that.
I did read that, but I am concerned, and it also goes on to say you must deed restrict the property, that it'll
Well,
always be seasonal.
We could make you put a D-night in, and then it'll be deed restricted as well.
Well, yeah, I know, so I can talk to my client about it.
Yeah.
I said I'm not averse to it.
Yeah, I really would, because the amount of mitigation you're doing for all this, and the disturbance in there, and a tight tank to go in, the nitrogen is zero, and Buzzards Bay has been working, the coalition's been working effortlessly, tirelessly, to clean that up. And no matter if it goes to Buzzards Bay, or it goes to the Great Sepoosett Marsh, either way it's going. And we've done, believe me, I've worked out there, and we've done enough hydrology reports that depending which way you want your septic, which way the tide's flowing, but either way, it's gonna hit somebody. So I would definitely pursue that.
Can I ask a procedural question?
Yep.
Is it appropriate then, because it would help, if you were able to close the hearing, make a finding that you're approving it with a condition for a tight tank? Because it gives me ammunition to make my case with DEP. Or do you want me to continue it, or?
Oh, I'd be happy to condition it with a tight tank, because we have the.
You'd
I mean,
have to submit a revised plan
Yeah,
showing the
absolutely.
location of a tight tank.
Yeah, which is gonna be
Well, the tank would be where probably where the tank
existing
is.
tank is. We dig
Yeah.
out the old tank, and it's basically an oversized tank with an alarm on
That's all it is.
it. Um,
And they come in plastic now, so, and with a concrete weight on the top, so, there's a lot of options out there. Again, there's a lot more now than there used to be.
My concern was limiting the property to seasonal use. That's what it says, and I don't know that it would ever be anything but seasonal because of all the other rules like seasonal.
Well, at that point, they would then remove the tight tank when they raise the house and turn it into a year-round house.
Yeah, right,
You know.
someday,
Yeah.
that we can't picture that.
We can't picture that, so
may
this is
happen.
today, and it's a seasonal house with an option for tight tank.
Right. I'm not against it, I just be worried about it limiting my client's rights.
Yep, I know.
So I don't know how we handle that.
Well, we try to protect the environment,
I
so
get it. Do we continue it so I can come back one more time and say
it's
she's
up to
okay
you.
with that?
That's up to you.
I'd rather do that than
Yeah.
make it a condition,
Yeah.
and then I'm kind of trapped.
Right, yeah. No, I think that would be only prudent to ask them, or to explain it
At
to
this
them.
point, I've recommended to her that it's not the right time of year to be digging up and messing up a road like that to put a septic in. You'd not be well received in the neighborhood.
And that's the other thing, when you put in a Title V, you're bringing in aggregate, you're stripping out, you're hauling away, whereas a tight tank is just literally a hole in the ground, which is far less intrusive, for that road and whatever, and the neighbors. So that's all for you, Mike. And then for Teresa, well, actually for Jen, don't we usually have 3 gallon, 3 foot on center? And I keep seeing 5 foot on center.
Yes.
So I just want to be consistent for all the other people that come in front of us, like Tommy Bunker that just left, and it's all 3 foot on center. And if we want to change that, I think we will at some point to the 5 foot, but we should be consistent, and so that's that. And then the second thing is, it's all green. What is all the other green?
The green is is the area where all invasive plant species.
Okay, so when you remove all that, what's going to be there?
Everything that we're showing on the plan. So one note that I want to make regarding your comment about the size is, and I just caught this evening, and we'll submit a revised plan, Jen, is we just actually switched CAD programs, and for some reason the plant schedule is not listing the plant size. And I just noticed it when I sat down to prepare to come in and present. So we can change that. So we will have 3 gallon plants, 4 to 5 foot cedars is what we're proposing. So the green area will be restored entirely with the woody vegetation that we're showing on the plan, the bearberry, and then the seed mix that's in the plan notes that consists of the crinkle hair grass, poverty grass, little blue stem, purple love grass, butterfly weed, asters, and goldenrods.
But isn't that the one that looks like the basket weave?
No, that's the bearberry.
That's the Bearberry.
Oh, I'm sorry, 841 feet.
Yeah.
All right, well, the Bearberry was all over the place, not
Yeah.
just over the top.
No, it's not, but it's mainly right around the top of the area and then there. And again, all we're trying to achieve here is good restoration of a sampling plant community that you would find in this area if the house wasn't built and it wasn't disturbed and there wasn't all those invasive plant species.
Well, the problem is when the invasives start to get into the grasses, it's really hard to maintain them versus in woody indigenous, you know, they have a fighting chance.
Actually, I find in doing this now for many years that it's actually just the opposite because we're able to get in and spot the invasive plant species when they're very small on the site and that we're able to treat them very quickly in the grassier areas, whereas you don't usually see bittersweet till it's coming up through the middle of the shrubs and at that point it's already started to girdle. So, you know, and again, I think it's, you know, it can be done either way, so I'm not saying that it can't be done either way, but I don't find it to be any more difficult to manage the invasive species in the grassy areas, and actually frequently find it easier to do that. As a matter of fact, we've been working with Buzzards Bay Coalition ourselves to look at using, for land trusts, using meadow restoration as part of a long-term invasive species management plan, because it makes it's easier and more effective, especially for things like places like land trusts, to manage the open grass.
Not in this environment.
No, this would not be an open grassland
No.
environment, but a sand plain, heathland plant environment definitely would be.
Yeah, I just think that, again, we have to be consistent because you
Yeah.
bring us grasses all the time and our regs are always woody indigenous, so.
No, I know, and woody indigenous is absolutely clear in your mitigation regulations, but in restoration, in the regulations, it states in 10.18 that temporary degradation and restoration of a resource area buffer, it doesn't specifically require, it says native grasses alone cannot be used to replace woody indigenous species. And we're not replacing woody indigenous species with native grasses. And it can't be counted as mitigation, that's very clear. But we're not replacing indigenous species with grasses, we're replacing native plant species, and we're using a mix of woody and grasses. And it's not mitigation, it's restoration. In the mitigation areas, we understand completely the regulations require woody vegetation only.
And then the last sticky wicket is the deck and the mitigation, because we usually don't allow mitigation within 10 feet of the house to
I
call.
understand that, and here's where I'm throwing myself on the mercy of the commission, and it's frankly that this entire lot is entirely covered with invasive vegetation, and we're looking at 72 square feet, 7 shrubs is what's required to mitigate for that area. So I'm just
I know,
saying-
it's up to the board, but
Yeah.
we never allow that to.
There's another solution.
And yeah, Mike did come up with another solution, which could be to shave some area off each part of the driveway. You know, again, that's something we could look at with the property owner. The parking is limited there. This house is obviously, in speaking with this woman, you know, just understanding the background is her family grew up renting the house across the street for the summer. This house came on the market. She told me she was going to move heaven and earth to buy this house for her family to enjoy because she's in her late 80s, long after she's gone. So just trying to consider what's available there, the limited amount of parking space that's
Okay.
there.
Thank you.
Jamie? Steve?
They still own the parcel across the street?
I'm sorry, Cindy.
They own the parcel?
They do, yeah, they do.
And, and I thought we had talked about having some of the mitigation on the other side?
So there's only one open grassy area
I know
on the other
it's,
side.
yeah, right.
Yeah, so, so it didn't seem really feasible, and that's also, I believe, where they park over there for
Okay.
that particular house.
Right.
And
And
then
the
the rest of it
cedars.
is actually healthy cedar
Right.
canopy.
Okay, thank you. No other questions?
Mark?
Nothing.
Okay, thank you. So, continue, okay, fine.
I just want to make sure you understood this concept of, we could make this a no net increase of impervious. I mean, it wouldn't be reasonable. There's corners of this pavement that aren't necessary. Like, so we could make 72 square feet of pavement go away instead of requiring mitigation that you might have a problem with being too close to the house. I don't know what you'd rather have us do.
I'm out for the jury, it's just that's what we always say.
Yeah.
We can't count it, so.
I mean, that's
Doesn't mean that I'm not saying it's not a benefit, I'm just saying don't count.
So the main reason we're asking for a continuance is to talk about, I think we're gonna be fine with the tight tank, but I need to talk to my clients.
Certainly. Okay.
July 19th, Mike.
It's going to be another great night.
Oh, no, you can have July 12th. I have July 12th open. July 12th? I'm sorry, I kept saying, Raul kept saying he couldn't do the 12th, so just, I'm like automatic on the
I'm already
19th.
here on the 12th, so.
All right, so, yes, you are.
All right.
At the request of the applicant, we'll continue it to July 12th.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, so moved.
Barbara, you awake back there?
You get an award for patience, Mark.
No, this isn't a tremendously long night, but like.
You have to drive all the way back to Middleborough?
I think it was after last night. Just
And all day.
Ouch! Really bad. I'm sorry, Brittany. No, we'll talk.
Is this just for lunch?
Did I
Good night, guys.
detect a little sarcasm there, Barbara?
No, I meant it.
You did?
I'll beat Raul up later. Good evening, for the record, Barbara
the board's
Bradley,
gonna
Warwick
beat you to
Associates, representing John Lunn, the owner of the property at 2 Silver Beach Ave. We're here because we'd like to amend the order of conditions to include on the back of the house, which is the subject of the order, we would like to put a patio, and a portion of that patio is in the outer buffer. It's also cleared areas where the septic system is in the back, so we're not losing any vegetation or anything to accommodate this patio. The other two items are 2 AC pads adjacent to the house here. And in order to, in doing the calculations, we end up having to do 650 square feet of mitigation planting to make up for this new impervious area. This is, the red line here is the A buffer to this wetland over here, which is an isolated swamp. And this is the area where it's property line here, and so Mr. Lund met with Mark, met with staff, talked about the plan. And the plan is to, you can see we have a house, 10-foot diameter around the existing trees, which will be left intact. There are also, on this site, 2 very large rhododendrons, and staff had requested that one of the rhododendrons be removed, one be kept, and part of the mitigation plan is to remove one of the rhodies, plant 3 tuberoles on the other side of the driveway, because there's really no area in the A buffer where you get a nice open space for the trees. Also, there will be planting of native shrubs in the A buffer, so we will reach our required square footage for mitigation. One of the things I would like to propose is in this area, there are some invasives and there are some non-natives, but the invasives are sort of minimal. There are some non-natives. There's some hostas that got in there over the years, and there's some daffodils here and there. But mostly what's the ground cover there is whitewood aster, and there's some smilax, which is sort of at the end. And what we'd like to do is, we know we can't plant underneath, the 10-foot diameter of the trees, but rather we don't want to strip that area to bare dirt and put in the mitigation plantings. We would like to plant right in the aster so that we have an existing native plant ground cover that's solid. And the rationale behind that is there are a lot of invasives very close to this property. The place is crawling with bittersweet and knotweed. And the concern would be that if we were to strip this out completely, except for the 10-foot circle, that in very short order, we're going to have 650 square feet of knotweed and bittersweet. It will jump in there to disturb soil. So the goal is to remove the hostas. And that goal put in a shrub. Maybe remove whatever has to be removed that's non-native or is ornamental, and replace it with one of the shrubs on the list, which I believe is viburnum, clefra, and I think bayberry.
Winterberry too.
Winterberry, but native things. And also, there's a grass area, again, just before the big rhododendron, there's an area that's sort of grassy. Once again, we're not going to remove the grass, cut a hole, proper planting, pat it down, so we don't end up having all of these new plantings and all of this mitigation work destroyed in short order. The other advantage to putting the shrubs, particularly in the beginning of the lot where the driveway is, the driveway comes in, I'll show you here, it's better. The driveway comes in here, and there's a grassy area here in the front, and that seems to be, there's a path through the grassy area, and that path seems to be the neighborhood's path, wheelbarrow path. Not my client's path, because he has a person that cleans up and sort of takes things away. But this is the neighborhood path. And people come down and unfortunately when he had his dumpster here during the course of construction, that was also the neighborhood dumping. And it not only was there other people's trash, but it wasn't just wood and nails and tar paper, it was smelly things. So really blocking off the path to the wetlands, and so the neighborhood will have to find another place to dump the yard waste. So that's about it. We're going to, we'd like the patio, and we will do mitigation in a way that I hope will be appealing to you.
Thank you, Barbara. Jen?
No questions.
Courtney?
No
Corey?
questions.
No questions, complete
Jane.
plan, thank you.
Steve?
No questions.
Mark is shaking his head no. All right.
That's what
Is
happens
there-
when the plan is
would you like-
complete.
Would you like to say something? Okay, please come to it. Yes, please, and please give us your name.
I will. I'm a lawyer. I've been involved in this.
I'm sorry.
My name is Julie Taylor, and I own 1 Silver Beach Ave, which is across the street from 2 Silver Beach Ave, and like 2 Silver Beach Ave is adjacent to the woody wetland. And I want to offer some information from my perspective and my experience. I've been a lawyer for over 30 years. I was a lawyer with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency for several years. I was a volunteer chair in Vermont of an Act 250 environmental commission that had considered various development applications under 10 criteria, including wetlands and aesthetics. I currently do environmental and land use law and represent landscape architects and architects, and I care a great deal about ecological values and protecting the ecology of the area, the wetlands of the area, and making site-specific decisions for this particular property. And I guess finally, I bought my cottage in large part because it was next to these woodsy wetlands. And I would encourage the board, the commission, to consider keeping both rhododendrons and to minimize the amount of removal of existing vegetation. Barbara alluded to the fact that there are lots of invasive nearby. I regularly spend time trying to stop it from coming up onto my property out of the wetlands, and it's right there ready to march in. So I wanted to briefly address that I believe that keeping the 2 rhododendrons, which have been there for 50, 70 years, I mean, they're quite significant, and the mature root structure that is there will provide multiple benefits in my view. That the road slopes down heading into the wetlands, and so the stormwater runoff that will be coming if you keep both rhododendrons and the existing vegetation, that will help with both the quantity of the water as well as some of the stormwater pollutants that will be coming down, the invasive species. If you keep the established root system and ground cover to the extent that you can, that will help keep the invasives at bay. The smilax and the knotweed, they're just really out of control there, as well as the bittersweet. One of the other things I enjoy around there is the wildlife. There are lots of turkeys and foxes and rabbits and just tons of birds in the wetlands, and they often perch in the rhododendrons as well. And so it'd be great to keep those. And then finally, the aesthetics, both the visual and the noise benefits of the two large rhododendrons that sort of protect the birds and the critters that live in the wetlands from the kids who are down the street. Having for me, the visual barrier, Mr. Lund's house was a one-story ranch. It's now a two-story house. Nicely done, but to have the rhododendrons there for my little cottage to keep the sort of vegetated feel, it would be something I would appreciate. I realize that's not sort of your charge, but I think there are multiple other rationales that are within your charge for keeping both of the rhododendrons and trying to keep as much of the existing vegetation as possible. So.
All right, thank you. Barbara?
Thank you. I would just like to say about the roadies, they do have habitat value.
Yes.
They're big, and the second one that's going to go is sort of funky looking. It's really cool looking. And robins nest in those things, so it's not like they have no value at all. So I'm sort of in that league.
So, and your client would not mind if...
I'll tell you, my client's wife would not mind. All right. But I would be more than happy to keep that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, motion.
Close the hearing, take it under advisement.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, unanimous, so moved. Thank you all.
That's the line for the bylaw.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're very patient people and good stamina.
Well, and so do, I've been in those positions too.
Should we get his opinion on the
And it's
roadies?
cold in here.
They turn the heat down when we stay too late.
Yeah. I'll wear my jacket next time and turn it away.
All right, I think we have made it to
Orders.
voting orders. What?
We're just gonna take like hours.
Which one is? One code? Oh, you guys have town monopoly.
There it is, okay.
I didn't steal that. You can have
All
mine.
right,
I stole everything of yours.
Share. Okay, vote orders of conditions. 204 Edgewater Drive East.
I can't remember.
Let's see.
So just widening the staircase to 4 feet,
Yes.
moving the
Mark,
concrete wall.
Steve, Jamie, all of you.
That's
Okay, wait a minute. What was that, Steve? I'm sorry. I'm
She's
sorry.
just widening the staircase.
yes.
I'm drawing a complete.
And it is kind of pretty steep and narrow.
Yeah.
Hang on, guys. I'm just drawing a complete.
It was a Barber project. And the name was Bedorian.
Bedorian.
Ellen Bedorian. And they had the little timber walled garden down on
Well,
the
it's
water.
just 2 weeks ago, guys.
Yes.
I know. You have to excuse me, Steve. I'm usually really good, but right now,
Yep.
for some reason, I'm like, oh yeah.
All right, so I don't seem to have my plan.
Special condition, Merica
that's
Penn and Rosa Virginiana, temporary irrigation. Yeah, okay.
Simple.
Above ground irrigation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's it. That's all I.
Because she didn't have a plant list, so.
Are we specifying a plan?
Actually, she did have a plant list and I took one out. I think that was it, because I only put the 2. Yep.
what are you taking out?
I'm taking out, I believe it's Heather.
Oh,
I think it's Heather. Let me see how good I actually am.
yes.
Heather.
Motion?
I'll move to accept the order as discussed.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous, so moved. 4 Nichols Road was ordered quoted earlier this evening. Lot 3, Bourne's Cove Lane.
Oh yeah, let me get the call for that.
I see a colored plan.
Okay, so, this is...
Just a comment, I think his second iteration met our concerns.
Yeah, they were very
Yes.
accommodating.
They
They were.
they revised the access, they dealt with a lot of sort of real
pretty much covered
things.
all
It's
our
everybody
concerns.
but poor Mark down there. For Bourne's Pond. Bourne's Cove.
Are there any special conditions we want to put there that are unusual?
I can think of one.
What's that?
There was a lot of talk about putting a D-night in, so I don't know what you guys want to do about that. I think he did a nice job with the access and everything.
Right.
You know, you do need to make a finding on your coastal bank and if they overcame the presumptions, so I'll make that finding.
Okay, thanks.
If you're going to approve it, you have to make the finding, so.
Yes.
I wasn't on the Bourne's Pond one, but.
Oh.
Yeah, you
so
were.
I- No, I wasn't.
Augusta?
No, the town project.
Oh.
So all the discussion on denitrifying, I don't know if it ever came up, but again,
It did.
the town has been, they've been battling here badly, and they're losing, and it's gonna cost us a lot to win. And I really feel that everybody has to start to chip in, and to say that, you know, the town's gonna widen it, so we don't have to denight because that'll fix it. That's not gonna fix it. That just helps. It doesn't fix it. You still can't keep dumping copious amounts of nitrogen in. So, and again, I mean, we just saw that with one on Loop Road with the hoop system. I mean, there is really amazing technology out there, and it's not terrible. I mean, it used to be terrible.
But can we force it on them?
Yes, our charge is to protect the water and the resources. And nitrogen is a degradating.
Yeah.
I agree, and, I mean, I agree about what our charge is. On the other hand, we have regulations, and those are guidelines for us as well as for the applicants. And the other problem I guess I have when this comes up is that people who are right on Bourne's Pond are obvious target for telling them to denitrify, but there's the whole watershed. And I don't, you know, I'm not
Yeah. No, I know.
I want to find a way to advance this, but I just am not terribly comfortable forcing it on people. I don't think we really have the ability to do that. Courtney?
Personally, I'd like to see us be able to require it with projects that come in front of us, because I think that your comment is well taken about, you know, a lot of this comes from the whole watershed, and, you know, it should be a town-wide requirement,
Yeah.
even beyond conservation. We're limited to our jurisdiction, and we can't require anything beyond that. At the same time, clearly we can urge clients to adopt it through either education or persuasion or beating them over the head or so on. But if we want to step to the plate, we have to bite the bullet, modify our regulations, and write the guidelines so that applicants know where they stand walking through the door.
Yep, that's
And
exactly
I would
how I
support doing
see
that,
it.
frankly.
Okay.
Well,
we
the Board of Health
might,
can actually step up to the plate as well, so maybe
Yes.
that's where, when they go for their septic permit, maybe that's where it will trip with the, you know, the town knowing the sensitivity of Bourne's Pond and the need to start denitrifying individually as well as, I mean, look what we did to Mara Vista, what our tax dollars are doing. You know, it's, you pay now, you pay later. They pay a little bit, or, I mean, the town's gonna be paying for the denitrifying, you know, of all these embayments at some point, so. But you're right, I mean, if we can't require them to do it, then it's not in our regulations to
I
require
don't,
them.
and this is where I'm gonna disagree with you guys. I do think that if this is something the board would like to pursue, now is a good time to do it. The Board of Health does want to have a joint meeting with you soon over a different issue, but it's something that we could put on the agenda for that meeting and discuss. That said, I think in certain cases you have required denitrifying systems, and you've made very, very good findings on why you required them. And you know, the applicants have accepted that. So to say you can't do it because your regulations don't specifically say, you know, you must install a denite, you could make findings regarding water quality that would stand up, that would be defendable. That said, is this the right parcel to do that? That's going to be your decision. But I don't want you guys to walk out of here saying, you know, it's not specifically written in our regs, therefore we can't do it. Because your regulations do give you the charge to protect water quality. I'm not saying that this is the parcel to do it, I just don't want you walking out of here with the mindset that you can't ever require someone to do it. Okay? That's all I'm saying.
So at some point, we should have some further discussion about what
Absolutely.
type of a project would be
Right. Yeah.
the right one to.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I can think of one right now.
And again, I'm not opposed to it either, so, Maureen, don't take it that way.
No, and I mean,
no.
the only reason, that's why I said, I think that if I was on the, you know, sat in and was on the quorum for the widening of Bourne's Pond, you know, the channel there, that's why this one, they were both together, and here we're putting in a new house that needs, you know, that's putting in a new septic and you know, so that's why.
Well, I will take an issue with Mr. Borselli's statement at the hearing that he said that this site was inappropriate for a denitrifying system, which, quite frankly, at this late hour, I'm probably going to stick my foot in my mouth, I think was a crock. So, you know, I just think that statement was inappropriate, so.
Well,
I also stated that.
I think
He also-
beyond that, you know, anything to say that a D-night system is inappropriate, no matter where you are in Cape Cod.
It's never
is-
appropriate.
is a-
Yeah,
is-
the state-
Fits into your
Yeah.
description.
Yeah.
He also stated there was no wildlife habitat in this area, which,
Well,
you know, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But you know, I think probably it would be prudent to not force this on somebody. I think it was very disappointing with people that have lived in this town and watched the degradation. It's not somebody that just moved in and said,
Right.
oh, everything's wonderful. We live in Camelot. I mean, they've lived here forever. They know that we used to shellfish year-round. And it is the little dripping water, every straw that is going to finally break the camel's back.
And that back's already broken.
It's already broken, and we're trying to fix it, and just by saying, well, the town can fix it, well, that's you and I and every taxpayer. And it is your effluent. It's not my effluent, it's your effluent. So, you know, it's not my nitrogen that's going into Bourne's Pond, it's yours. So I just, you know, again, I'm not gonna fight hard for it. I think it's just disappointing that the engineer and the applicant were given so many opportunities, knowing that right behind them was another hearing with the whole reason why we want them to consider it. And it went on deaf ears.
Following up on what Jen has just said, I mean, I think it's appropriate that we, at the very least, have some guidelines that people have, there's some clarity as to when we're gonna liable to require a D-night system and when it's, it's not. Because if we're saying, yeah, there's circumstances where it's certainly appropriate that we require it, what are those circumstances? And I think that ought to be spelled out a little bit so people know what's going on.
I think it would be helpful just to us to.
Yeah, it would also help us too.
Work that
I mean, it
out.
would be really easy to say nitrogen-sensitive embayments, because
Yeah.
that would cover every
Everybody.
embayment in town.
Well, I understand that, but I think, we want to, part of our.
But you don't want to box yourself in. I understand what you're
Yeah,
getting
part
at,
of
and
our
we
charge,
can talk
part of our
about that.
charge in making decisions is to be consistent as possible about
Absolutely,
it.
Courtney, but you
Because
also.
we don't want to open our thing to the whole capricious
And
argument.
I would never allow you to do that.
So that's what I'm,
I think you
that's
know
what
me
I'm
well
suggesting.
enough, I think you know me well enough to.
No, I know.
For
I
me,
know.
if I see you guys going down the road of being arbitrary capricious, I'm like over here going, no.
Well,
and there was
and
really-
that's why I think it's helpful to have some guidelines.
But you
that are-
can't
that-
box
that are-
yourself in
Yeah,
either.
just to
You
help
need
us.
to,
It guides us and it
Yep.
guides the applicant.
And there was no improvement on the site. I think that was the septic would have been the only improvement on the site, because they cut down 3 times more trees than they're giving back. There was no roof runoff, now there's a house, so they're fixing with dry wells, but there was none. A lot of times they make an improvement on a site, and you go, well, you know what? They've removed a cesspool, they've done this, they've elevated the house, they
this was an
reduced the driveway.
this was an undeveloped
This is an
lot.
undeveloped lot. There's no improvement on it. And it's a degradation of a lot. That's what this is.
That
So-
they're asking you that to buy the argument that they overcame the presumption.
Well, I don't think they did, because they cut down 3 times more trees in DPH than they planted in a natural canopy. And so, no, they did not overcome an improvement. And that was the only reason the D-night would have improved the lot that they're now degrading, so.
Anybody else?
Right.
Move to accept as discussed.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Guess who? Opposed.
One opposed.
Opposing.
Yeah.
All right. It's fine, Mark.
Well, they didn't improve the lot.
Losing track.
They got everything they wanted.
Okay, 34 Tupelo Road,
I can't
West
remember
Falmouth.
that.
This is
It's
the,
a Raoul.
the place in the middle of Great Superior
Horrible
Farm.
site, another horrible site.
Yeah, horrible.
Just terrible.
Oh, I ripped up all my
Yeah, but I
photos.
don't.
I know. That view is just,
Oh,
shit.
I just did. I met the,
I just ripped
the
them all up.
homeowner, she's a very nice woman.
Hang
That's
on.
Mary Jane, Courtney, Moore, Kristen, and Steve. That's
That sounds about right.
right. Does somebody have forms over there?
I know, I was on it.
I'll get it. And it was twice, so Mark, I think you're off on this one because I think it was twice.
5-3, continued to 6-7.
Yeah.
This is an improvement to a lot.
Sorry, guys. Yep. Oh, you're off. I'm sorry. Yeah. Who didn't sign over there?
I didn't sign, I was busy before the meeting.
The only thing I really care about is that land grant.
Yeah,
The land
I'll sign
grant
it.
I did sign
application.
that.
I'll sign it.
Okay.
So,
Tupelo, hang on.
Tupelo Road.
Oh, yeah, the DCPC one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Easy.
I don't have any issues with this, so. I don't think, oh, God, I don't know. Hang on, let me check.
No, you actually gave us everything we asked. You gave
Yeah,
us
he
all
did.
the aerials,
Right.
Yeah,
and he actually went back and sharpened his pencil and gave us,
and they said they weren't gonna cut the black locust on the
No.
bank, I think, just because they didn't
Yeah.
want to go through the academic exercise of locating them all.
yep,
Not
So-
worth it.
I think it's good.
Okay.
Any special conditions?
Isn't Maria is Maria on this?
Yes, she was the-
Yeah, she's the landscaper on this one.
yep.
Yep. It's fine, I'm good.
Yeah, so,
Why is,
I don't have a million red pens on
I
this
don't
one,
have-
and it's in the DCPC.
That's
Right.
it.
For me, that's,
Remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they met all the DCPC regs, so.
So,
with that said,
here are my notes, just, the aerials, got the aerials. Yep, I don't have anything that we didn't just cover.
yeah. They changed out the Blue Point juniper to Eastern red cedar. And that was the biggest thing, besides we wanted aerials. And had they ever done anything in the DCPC before, and they had not, no building permits were recalled.
Yep.
So that they did not do their lot over coverage. That was it. That's all I had.
I move to accept as discussed.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous, so moved. All right, and then, now, the moment we've all been waiting for. The Minot Road
Yep.
Inlet Widening Project.
Steve, Mary, Jamie, Courtney. Basically, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna model this after the Muddy Creek order of conditions for Harwich that Jan Ramsey talked about. Okay, what I'm gonna specifically reference in the order of condition for this project is most of what Virginia had put up on the handout, which was doing the beach profiles starting in 2018, monitoring in spring and September, doing every year for up to 3 years until after the bridge is completed. They said they were going to submit a report at the end. I would like to see a report submitted annually with those profiles in it.
Yes.
And then they were going to submit a final report to see if the beach had changed that much, so that and that was to address the neighbor's concern.
Yes.
Okay, another thing we're going to do is put a monitoring in requirement in about the eelgrass. It's specifically who is going to be monitoring eelgrass and at what time of the year. 3, also sand movement and the water quality monitoring, which they're going to be doing. There's also the dune reconstruction that we're going to condition with. We're going to modify some of their plantings. Mark and I went carefully through their planting scheme, and some of the plantings we like on the parking lot side of the dune, because it will, on the landward side, because it'll offer a lot of diversity in color and everything like that. But on the seaward side of the dune, we'd like to just see, you know, your native beach grasses. So we'll be working with them on that. Also, you know, we're going to have multiple time of year restrictions because of plovers, to you know, winter flounder, horseshoe crabs. Yeah, so we're going to go through and write in all the time of year restrictions, and then go through their construction methodology and pick out everything and reference that in your order of conditions. I can send it to you if you guys want to see it, but, you know, that's basically what's going to be incorporated into it. And then basically model it after other bridge projects. I mean, this is a big project. They said it's going to take, what, 2 years to complete? It's going to be done in phases, so you got to break it down in phases and then break down the monitoring. And that's, what was that,
Would there
Jim?
be anything about dredging? Can there be anything about dredging in there?
Oh, absolutely. What would you like to see in dredging? Dredging's going to be a time of year restriction. It's also going to be on where they're placing the sand. So right now, you have a moratorium on placing sand on the west side of Minot Beach. This project definitely calls for sand on the west side. Right. The west side of Minot Beach needs sand desperately. Hopefully, while this project is going on, we'll have some solution to that foundation, bridge, road that's buried underneath that dune. So what might happen is while this project is going on, we'll be simultaneously probably excavating that structure out, which means we're gonna need even more sand on that side. So I don't want to limit them to the volumes they identified because they're not taking into account removing that structure.
Is there a value to removing that structure?
We don't know yet.
One more storm, you're gonna be clear.
I mean, it's there.
We don't know. That's what the town put in a grant application to Coastal Zone Management for funding to look at shoreline stabilization options in that area, specifically looking at the west side of Minot. So, yes, Steve?
I'm hoping that all of Bourne Pond will benefit from this project. And it's pretty clear that the northern end of the pond has very little determined. There's nothing that opening this up is going to help farther up because of sources, other waterway sources. But I'm hoping that the eelgrass in particular, which has disappeared substantially from the north end, as we study these things, can we study the entire pond?
The eelgrass within the entire pond. There'll be
Well,
more.
you saw where it was,
Yep.
and then it had disappeared
Yep.
from the upper, let's call it, end of the pond. And what was the cause of that? Just more nitrogen.
More
It's also
nitrogen.
where I live, but
Nitrogen, those septic.
when I
No,
go
but
back
it's
to
the nitrogen.
my association meeting,
No,
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
I've told them
we
all to
can,
stop doing
we
their
can
lawns.
actually have them do,
I'm
just
just
do a visual survey for eelgrass throughout the entire pond, if that's what you would like. I mean, they're gonna know
Right.
while they're looking at the water quality, that there's a certain threshold that eelgrass is gonna thrive at.
right,
And if
Right.
it's exceeding that threshold, you're probably not gonna find eelgrass. So when that water starts to clear, hopefully, and the nitrogen's reduced, that the eelgrass will come back, and that we'll be monitoring that and tracking the reestablishment of eelgrass beds in this area. But we
Right.
can write that in.
yeah,
Okay.
great.
Courtney?
And what happens if the sedimentation in Warren's Pond increases as a result of this project?
Then we're gonna be spending
Which is why we
lots
have
of
the
money
moratorium in the
on
first place.
dredging. We're going
I
to be
mean,
spending a lot of money on dredging.
I mean, that's something that as I've listened to the discussions, and having lived long enough to know that when things can go wrong, they will, I worry about that. I'm not sure that means we deny the project, but I'm just saying, it's a real concern of mine.
It was a concern of the abutters as well.
Right.
And, I feel like I'm caught in a real dilemma here. On one hand, I understand the need and the reason to do something like this. I just worry that there are going to be some unintended consequences. And once we commit down this road and these unintended consequences occur, if they do, what is our fallback position?
Dredging.
Well, dredging.
Yeah, and is there going to be money for dredging?
Reopen the old dam.
Well, you heard Virginia's comments. There's money for dredging
Navigation.
for the navigational part of it, which is Outer Bourne's Pond.
Right.
Inner Bourne's Pond is, what did they call it? Not water quality dredging, but
Yeah, I know.
something like that. And the town's gonna have to commit to that. I can't force the town to commit to that. You can
No,
put it in your order
I
of
understand.
conditions. But it's
There's
a
a
funding
disconnect there, and
issue.
that's problematic from
It
my
was the
standpoint.
disconnect at the original beach
You know, I mean,
nourishment
if you're gonna do
project
something,
for
and
this.
you're gonna do something, you gotta look at the long-range consequences.
Yes.
And if the long-range, there's a potential, then you need an escrow fund. That's what we require a lot of times we require the homeowners to put in something in escrow because we don't know what the
What are you
consequences.
talking about, $100,000?
I mean, I don't, you know what I'm saying? I understand the reality of it, that you're not gonna require the town to do that. We can't do that. I'm just simply,
Oh, I know,
I'm saying this, that's what troubles me.
I know.
I mean, am I gonna vote against this thing? I mean, I suppose I can, but I wouldn't do it if I thought I was gonna actually win it.
Move to accept this
I'll write
I'd
up
rather
a very
make my-
nice order of
I'd rather
conditions
make my
for you.
negative vote on the point.
When it
that I
doesn't
make a
count, right?
point. Yeah.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Opposed.
There you go.
Seriously?
I am.
All right.
All right.
So one opposed.
One opposed.
Another motion, please?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.